like he really wants to talk to Geralt, so he pulls Geralt aside. He's like, "Hey, buddy."
He's a little broski gay in this scene.
Okay, yeah.
That's what Val said.
Okay, I can say.
I'm just so glad you said that because I was like, Will, did you get a little?
No, they're straight guys being straight buds in a hot tub together.
Welcome to another episode of Two White Girls and a Hispanic Man, also otherwise known today as Unresolved Textual Tension, Barbie and Ken style. The blonde hair, that makes sense, right? Well, you're not blonde. No, you're not blonde.
like Ryan Gosling.
You know what's gonna have to happen then, Will? You're gonna have to leave the stream, and
he's one of those off-brand Ken dolls that like is like a specific character.
Then it will be more like Barbie because the IQ points will just go.
Oh my god, you're so dumb.
Okay, anyway, so the book we're doing today is The Time of Contempt by Andrzej. Oh my god, I should
Andrzej Sapkowski.
That's the one, and this is the second Witcher novel?
The second novel, yes.
Second novel, fourth book. We had previously read his two short stories, and then Blood of Elves, which was the one before this. And in this one, we're getting in deep. Now, the plot is sort of starting, but then going on hold halfway through. And we're back with Geralt and Yen and Ciri, who you guys all know from either the games or the television show or the books or our podcast.
Previous episodes.
Right. So we're probably not going to go over them all over again. This is kind of an interesting book to read. I enjoyed it. What were your thoughts, Katie, first?
I definitely enjoyed it. It's still the narration and the story itself is like coming home at this point, so it feels really comforting to listen to the story. But I do have to say there are the pacing is like really strange. And I'm overly kind to it in this particular instance just because I really like everything about it, but it is really weird. And also, man, this book is a gigantic switch up in the formula for everything we know as The Witcher so far. And so to have so many things go awry in this book I kind of feel like I went through trauma.
Especially those last two chapters.
Bit. Yeah. Your thoughts?
If you guys hear meowing, I'm very sorry. My cat has decided to wake up, so she's going to be screaming for a minute.
Dazzler. And I don't really edit these, so if she shows up on camera, you will be seeing cat butt. Okay, your thoughts, Val.
My thoughts? I love these books so much. I will say this one is not one of my favorites. I think it's a little clunkier than the other ones, especially it shows the pacing issues a lot more. It shows the pacing issues a lot more, and like the strangeness of the structure is way more clear in this one than it was in, say, Blood of Elves, where I felt like the odd structure kind of worked for it. This one, like, I loved like the first, I would say, 2/3 of this book. I thought it was delicious, tasty food, even though it's like a little hard to parse all of the politics. I took so many notes. I was like, even though I've read this before, I was like, who is this? Like, what's going on? But it was fun for me to parse all of that. And then the last, like, third of the book is just a real kind of bummer to read. Like, and it's it's clearly setting up stuff for the next book. And, like, it's just, like, if this was a normally structured book, it would have ended, like, after the big drama at the Conclave, right? But because it's not, we get all of this dragged out, like, trauma at the end.
We get the first half of Ciri's story from the next book, essentially. Like, we get a big setup and not, I think
character will conclusion. Be nice when we start the next one. We don't have to do all the introductions, like sad stuff in the beginning, but it makes for a weird reading experience. I still love it so much. There are so many wonderful moments in it. I can't say enough good things about this book series, but this one in particular is not my favorite. I think it's a little messy.
I agree with all of that. It's very clunky, and I love it all the same. There are some really good moments in this book. The second half is much weaker than the first half. I loved all the politicking and understood none of it. So there's going to be a part where I say, and then this sexy, slutty sorceress did something kind of important, but I don't remember exactly what or exactly which one.
I have
Like,
some
and
notes.
I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna just be like, Val, what did they say?
I have some notes, and then I've already told Chris, who cannot be here with us today. Shout out to Chris, who is like
Chris,
a soldier
solidarity.
in our Patreon. But I told her, please correct me in the comments if I say anything, because there's a lot to parse. Like, it's not easy, and for a first-time reader, like you just can't absorb all of it.
No, the thing is, all of them have just very similar names, I found. And like, so there were parts of it that I got, like the war part we'll talk about later. The structure of how he sets that up, you don't necessarily need to remember who everybody is. But with like the sorceresses enclave, and then there's 2 factions of them, and it's you get.
It does help. Like, there are a few names that do make it easy. I mean, there's not many Tris Marigolds going around. Yeah, but Will is, I didn't even think about that, but that does make sense why I struggled so poorly with understanding everybody's interactions with each other, because a lot of the names just kind of blur into each other, and there are really just exposition info dumps several times that just, but because the writing's so good, you're like, okay, I guess I could sit down for story time.
He's also weird because he's very good at characterization, but it's hard to tell his characters apart in terms of their voice sometimes. So they all feel real, but none of them are exactly like easy to tell apart necessarily.
He's good at the main characters for sure, but at a certain point, all of the sorceresses kind of sound the same. And but there are a few. Once we get to the plot point during the conclave, while Geralt's meeting all these guys, I'll talk about some of the familiar faces and stuff, because it's a lot of fun. But
Eden says they're basically hot bitchy witch 1 to 8, and it's kind of true.
It's such a blast.
And I love it.
Though.
Yeah, I actually love it. It's so funny. Me and Sapkowski are like this on our love of bitchy witches.
Geralt is such a boob, man. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
it's
it
so
is really funny.
Like, it didn't bother me. It was just like, this guy, she's just kind of helpless, man.
I will say it's really endearing. I don't think I've read or watched many things that where a man is so horribly distracted by one of the most basic things ever, in my opinion, but whatever.
There's one scene after the conclave, just a very brief aside, like after all of the shit goes down to the conclave, where like he's like fighting people and like trying to escape, and he like goes into this like cloister area, and he's looking at the statues, and he notes the statues' boobs. And I'm just like, Geralt, my man, keep it together.
His breath, it's like, it really describes like the craftsmanship that went into the naiad's breasts, and it's like,
I think I know what we're going to title this episode. Mutants love boobs too.
Well, I wouldn't see why they wouldn't. We all know. Well, I was thinking of The Shape of Water. I mean, like.
Well, we don't really know that he was a boob man or a thin man.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah, whatever. Anyway, the point is, it gets really horny in a few places, which is really cute, honestly, more than like weird. It's so good how he does it, how he slips it in.
I find it charming. Like, and I understand for some female readers they might not, but there is like a sense of like, oh, I just kind of like boobs. I respect women a lot, but I also just kind of like boobs. And like, as someone who also is of that persuasion, I'm
boobs
like,
are great.
Okay.
It's not in a gross way to me at all. It's just like, it's not like he's staring lasciviously and describing them for paragraphs. It's just like boobs, kind of.
Yeah, that's exactly how it comes across.
It's like that. And again, it's also not like the female characters suffer by virtue of only being like objectified or there for eye candy. It's just like a fun aside.
Well, also, definitely the narration pins Geralt as like a boom, 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 boom. Like,
yeah,
he
it
comes
does that
across
too.
as a boob in the moment of him looking at boobs.
That's very funny. One thing I will say also that was interesting, we'll talk about a little bit, is as we get to the elf stuff, there were some comments from last time from the more European part of our audience about like how they saw the metaphor of them that I just thought of because I uploaded comments for it that we'll read out. But like this book, I think also moves thematically the story forward a little bit, even if it's not the biggest part of it. There is a lot of like, it's interesting because you read the short stories and those are very kind of thematically heavy, gritty world. Okay, fine, guys. Oh my God.
How dazzling.
It's Dazzler. Dazzler has the most piercing yellow eyes.
Be normal, girl. Don't knock anything over.
But it is weird going. So, like, last book kind of felt like, okay, this is sort of as an evolution of the short stories. This one feels very different because the short stories are very sort of like a subversion of tropes and themes in short, self-contained stories, and this is like big political arcs. But the characters still feel very genuine to themselves, and it feels like he's kind of trying to make a larger point to an extent, though maybe is a little fuzzier than it could be.
Yeah, he definitely brings back the sort of neutrality conversation from the previous one quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Which we'll
definitely.
talk about.
The only thing is I'm a little frustrated on that account. Like, I guess I get it, but I'm a little confused as to what he really wants to say. I mean, I'm not, but I also am because I feel like it's like a triple entendre on, if that makes any sense. I guess we can discuss it later when it comes across with Dandelion and him in their conversation.
Entendre et trois. Go ahead.
Yeah, and
Yes,
I've got
French.
a bunch of...
Well, it's a menage a trois, so it's an entendre trois is when three entendres have a threesome. But go ahead.
I've got a bunch of like I'm not gonna like read all of these quotes, but I
guys,
got like
if you don't have interns at your work, get one because it's great because you can just be like, "Hey, did you get this line?" And she'll be like, "I think so." And I'm like, "Well, check," or your job's on the line.
Well, I like to come with the receipts because it's like
it's true.
It's good for me because, like I've said, like in the live stream, like this last weekend, like things will just slide off my smooth brain if I don't like pin them down. Like my brain is so slippery, you guys. Like,
and to be honest, this book especially, there's a lot of parts that kind of just slip out. Like Geralt and Villafort's had a really interesting conversation that I only remember like half of.
I got a bunch of lines pinned from that because it's such a weird, nasty little conversation. But we should get into the plot before we
should. Look at you. But also because this video got us almost no views. If you like this deep dive of The Witcher, which a lot of people actually have been really enjoying, it seems like niche fans. They don't get a lot of views, but people have been commenting such nice things about it. Think about maybe showing up for the live streams or just supporting independent journalism that allows these things to happen by joining our Patreon. I'm not going to give a huge spiel about it. I need to list off the name of our parasocial darlings, but we have a Discord, and then also above that, you get, hold on. I'm looking for a thing. I can't do both.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one who
I can't
for more than 10 seconds.
I can't depend on them to tell you what the benefits are while I do this, so I'll just do it here.
No,
right.
You can't depend on me.
Yeah, we also have a book club, which is where this is part of. These are like extras, actually. We do one at the end of the month where everybody gets polled to figure out which ones we read, and then there's one I pick, and then when we find a series we just want to keep reading, we make it usually kind of like a live stream special book club. Like we did the same thing with Emily Wilde books. And a few others, and that's why we're sad Chris M can't be here because she's a reader with us. Okay, so our parasocial legends for this month, and this is the highest tier, that's why we call them legends, is Slayer Zigma Zeta, Pi, Stephen Allworth, and Jennifer. And Jennifer has been with us for so long.
Yeah, I know. Jennifer's great.
Jennifer's great.
God.
Yeah.
Dazzler, shush.
Okay, so Val, where would you say that this story starts?
This story doesn't start where you would expect it would, with a main character. It actually starts with a messenger named Applegat, and where we start in his POV, and we get that this man's been kind of like out of work for a while. He used to be like big into like delivering mail, essentially, like, or messages, and he's very good at his job, but sorcery has sort of put him out of work a little bit because they can get messages across, long distances very quickly. However, because of all of this like turmoil and war that's happening, all the powers that be don't really trust sorcerers and sorceresses right now. So he's like, ha ha ha, back on the job, baby. Finally, he's very proud of his job, and he's got a message to deliver. So he's like on his way.
You know what was really, I really thought this is one of the best displays of how skilled a narrator, or just in general, like the construction of the story through multiple perspective switches. It is so well done, and I thought that the usage of this character at the beginning was particularly fun. It's because it was really interesting to see that perspective. It wasn't boring. I didn't care that I didn't have a main character to start with, and it was very entertaining, the narration, and also you keep getting these little cookie crumbs of our main characters, and it kind of makes it like fun just to be like, oh, what happened?
It's so funny. It's such a basic writing like cheat, but so few people do it, and it feels so good
Yeah.
when like that a thing the other character doesn't know. So like he runs into Siri and Yennefer at one point, and you're like, oh my god, it's them, and like it makes the world feel more real and lived in, but also it's a fun little mystery for you to kind of unravel.
And then like he sees Siri, and Siri does one of her weird little like prophecy thing, or she starts to do one of her weird little prophecy things, she's like, danger, gray feathers, like a
Hot sand.
hot sand. And he's like, oh, this girl's fucking weird. And and then he moves on, and Yennefer's like, Siri, come on. And then he moves on, continuing on his journey to deliver the letter. That's all we get of Yennefer and Siri in that moment.
Yeah, and then also right prior to that, I believe prior to that moment, or no, it may have been right after, he also gets stopped on the road, and he finds out, oh wait, there's been a stoppage in the road, and down the road there was some type of monster, and what was it, a wyvern or something like that? I don't
Basilisk,
remember.
I believe. Or was it a basilisk?
No, it wasn't neither of those. It was something else. But anyway, the point is there's a monster, and lo and behold, a white-haired witcher came through. His name was
Manticore.
Geralt.
Manticore.
Manticore. There we go. And you hear, oh, it was Geralt, and the writer, the messenger, is like, oh, maybe I'll catch up with this guy and talk to him. I've been so curious to meet a witcher. But so again, then you get that little tidbit, and then I don't remember. Do we get? Doesn't his perspective get interrupted, and then we get brought into other perspectives?
Yeah, but I will say before, like, there's a very cute little moment where, like, there's a little boy very excitedly explaining to Applegat what the Witcher did with a Manticore and stuff, and he was like, and then he did this, and then he did this, and like everyone else is like, shut up, boy, that's not how it happened. It's just like it's such a fun like little piece of world building that you get, and it's so entertaining, and it's such a good way to ground you in the world, like. These are all real people who are really affected by this like grander war that's happening, and it doesn't ignore them like so many like modern
It feels
like
completely
fancy
what Val's
romantic
saying.
stories.
It makes the world feel more real, and that helps when we do then get to the main characters, and it feels like they're affecting a real world and are exist in a real world, and that their actions have consequences on real people.
And as Chris said in our final thoughts, which I'll read later, like Applegat's failure to deliver his message becomes a very pivotal part in like how things
I
play
totally
out
missed that
later.
till I read that.
Yeah, and me too. So I was like, thanks, Chris, shout out. But yeah, we'll read little bits of her final thoughts later, because it's like it's a fun perspective even if you don't catch that, but it's great. We do switch half. Oh, sorry, Katie.
Well, no, I would say this also starts the tradition of this book, which we've talked about before, about how blue collar Sapkowski is and his commentary, because
I love
everything
it.
is about economics and money and people trying to get through the day, economically speaking. Like, because he's like, oh, the sorceresses, they're making me go out of business, but this is kind of what I want to do.
It's very
And, like,
grounding.
Her inns don't like me because I tend to take their best horses and ruin them. And like, it's like people in this world have an agency outside of just existing as NPCs. Like in game terms, this is a functioning economy that you enter into.
And what's really nice about that too is that, for any book, that's nice. Then it becomes a real world. It becomes painted and chock full of a lot of life that makes it lovable, in which many novels just don't seem to be able to acquire that kind of lovable, multifaceted quality. But it also is really important in this book for later, because all the politicking and all the things that happen would not actually feel so engaging and interesting even to a non-interested person, or a person uninterested in hearing such things, because you're able to connect with it emotionally by seeing all these pieces and how picturing in your mind when the dice start tipping over and hitting one by one, how it's going to end up affecting all these really beautiful, wonderful, awesome things that you see in this world, and how it's going to be torn asunder. So it's great. The title's wonderful for this.
Yeah, Sapkowski really is just like a master of like character and making you care about characters in such a short amount of time too. Like
what it does is it creates like a landscape that then your brain automatically starts to fill in blank spaces with, like what Katie's saying, and with like what Val is saying. I think it comes from his short story chops. Like essentially, there's one of the reasons this book works despite its not very good structure that we'll get into is because he can very quickly erect a character and put them on a journey, and you're like, okay, I'm interested in what's happening. Next part, is that cool?
Yeah, so like Katie was saying, there is like a little jump in this. So we cut after, Applegat learns about, Geralt fighting the Manticore. We cut to Geralt's perspective. And Geralt is having a dream about the Black Knight that Ciri told him about. The one that sort of, we don't know exactly what happened, but like, dragged her out of Sintra, essentially. And he wakes up and he's like, I want to get out of this dream. I want to get out of this dream. Eventually he does. Like in a sweat, he's worried about Ciri. But Geralt is on his way to see a lawyer to get some legal counsel on Ryoms, who is the guy who has been after him and Ciri and Yennefer, asking questions. The guy with the big scar on his face, who was a big problem in the last books. So he goes to Codringer and Fen are their names, and it's a great little scene. It's so good.
Well, first of all, the fact that we have this epic monster hunter going to see a lawyer is so, again, there's something so working class about The Witcher. And it's hilarious because he meets, what's the guy's name? The first?
Codringer.
Oh, well.
Codringer. And it's hilarious because there's a part where he goes, he didn't even think his partner existed. He thought it was just Codringer, but it had a great name. It had a better ring if there were two of them. And it's so funny because you meet his partner like a minute later, and Codringer's like, yeah, people think he's not real for some reason. It's just like he's a just great like little down in the setup and payoff.
He doesn't have any legs. He's just like a little scholar down there with all of his books, and he's like really sharp, really smart, like really good at parsing information really quick. Like,
and it's what's really interesting too is that it's through the exposition, it's giving you a little like secret too towards the end, which is of the interaction that we're about to get into. That this is like an inherited position as well. This is like, it's almost like what I picture if anybody's watched The Hogfather is the Guild of Assassins. And I just like basically, except for, it's Guild of Lawyers. And so I just kind of picture this quirky little, it's very, it's darker than Terry Pratchett, but like the vibe of it is definitely that specific kind of like old leather couch, guy, you know
Dark
what I mean?
Things.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a very unique section of the world, and I think that's what, again, I mean, we've already lauded it for its world building, but this is such a unique little section because I don't think we have particularly seen the Sherlockian vibes in this world like this, where it's also really fun. It's because I feel like the author is really pointing it on the nose too when the lawyer ends up addressing Geralt and is like, look, we're both hunting down things and we're both getting paid. You're just the old version of me. I'm the new version of me.
Oh, yeah.
That comes up a lot with Geralt in conversations in this book. Like,
we'll talk about it more in a second because it is really interesting because basically what the lawyer does is he's a lawyer, right? But he also like does in private investigations, so to speak.
And it's clear that he has a certain amount of respect for Geralt, like in their conversations.
Yes, and the two of them do. It's interesting too because he coughs and he kind of has like a phlemmy voice, which he talks about in a minute, which I really love.
With Codringer and Fen, their voices are as usual.
And so he immediately makes like like Katie was saying, a comparison between him and the Witcher. And he's like, you hunt monsters, I hunt information. You're going to go out of business and I will be the future. And Geralt's like, because that's Geralt.
But, a little bit more grumbly and rumbly. But
not as much as in the video game. A lot of people agreed with us that the video game voice is not as good as this guy, as Andrew King's. I think that's
the delivery. I'm going to be honest. The delivery of the video game voice actor is like weirdly monotone. And it kind of feels soulless.
I don't mind the voice actor in the video game at all. I think he does a good enough job. But Peter Kenny's voice acting is just it's canon Geralt in my head. To me,
Yeah, I
it's
I was replaying the third game the other day, and it's just like I think the introductory lines are just like I don't know what happened, but the beginning feels really weirdly like flat. As at least in compared to the DLC.
Okay, so what happens? You got to remember is that this the video game actor is being told to say over like thousands and thousands of line outside of understanding where it is in the narrative. But Val, what happens next? Hit us.
Okay,
Don't
so
drink coffee.
yes, essentially what they talk about here is Geralt is paying Codringer for information about Ryan's, and he starts like babbling on like this is what Ryan's did. He was in prison in Sintra for a while. He was a bad sorcerer, and then he got brought in by some assassin. He's like going through, and Geralt's like, "What does this matter? I'm paying you a lot of money. What am I learning here, buddy?" And he's like, "Calm down, I'll get to it." And we get some really actually fascinating information that we won't go too deep into about Calanthe and the rule of Sintra and how Calanthe sort of manipulated the rule because like women can't really be queens, and how she kind of just like kept like twisting, like she was such a strong personality that she manipulated things so much so that she could stay in power even with all of these structures in place. And it's fascinating to read about. And like a lot of people saw little Ciri as like a mini Calanthe, like she was like a kind of a spunky little girl, and it's very sweet to read about. Again, not that important for the plot, but very like just fun as a reader to get that. And essentially what we get is that sorry if you guys remember anything too. I'm reading my
I'm
notes.
trying to remember. So basically we go to there is a kind of cool part at the end that's character related where they're talking kind of about death, and you realize that the lawyer is like wasting away from an illness. And it's one of the ways that, again, Sapkowski really makes you feel like these are kind of real characters with things going on outside of it. And he can kind of craft some very poignant lines at times through this without putting a lot of stress on the line, but you still kind of feel it.
So a couple important things that we do talk about is, one, we learned that, if you remember, Dooney or Chion, the man who was cursed that Pavetta married, Ciri's father, was seen as like a very lesser guy, but he was in fact a lesser prince from the South Kingdoms. We learned that is important. We get the sense that he was probably like a bastard of some king or something, and doesn't really matter or have like a say to the throne. And
which matters for political reasons for Ciri.
And
because the whole real quick, just to premise, if that's okay,
go for
it. One of the big things that Geralt also needs from Codringer is a reason to get Ciri out of everybody's focus, to take away her power, but not take away too much of her power, so that way, legally speaking, to take away some of her power, but not too much of her power, so that she's both not sought out by everybody, but at the same time, she can still claim power later, which is really like, first of all, what a wonderful dad move, Geralt. Great job. Good job thinking about the multi-part, her future. But at the same time, like, it's interesting because everybody, has their own goals in this. So this is all being discussed in this moment. And then from here, you can take it on. I just wanted to have it mentioned that was also something that was being discussed.
Yeah. And very briefly, I will call out Eden's comment here. Yes, because at this point, Codringer was saying...
Well, she said, was Val going to say the part where the lawyer said Ciri isn't a true heir because woman, but her children will?
Yeah.
And sorry, I know I have to read it out loud. I got to remember that. But at this point, Codringer is saying, we can argue that because her father is kind of nothing, like she's not really a true heir, and like it's not a big deal. And because people are still searching for her, no problem. We got this girl who looks just like her. Blondie, green eyes. We can just sort of slide her out there if you want to. And Geralt's like, absolutely not. I'm not screwing over another person's life for this. Like, get lost. I'm not doing that. And Codringer's like, all right, you're lost, buddy. Like, you got a chance. And
I do think it's really important. So we've already gotten quite a bit of Ciri's backstory in the previous book, but I think it's really important that he continues to drip feed us all of these, like, not flashbacks, but basically these filler bits about not just her life and her inheritance, which makes it sort of epic as we watch her grow in this coming of age it's basically a coming of age story for her at this point. But also the emotional impact later. When we get to it, I'll bring this up again, hopefully, if I remember. But the point is later on, Ciri goes through a certain loss, and to think of the loss of not just her time with Geralt, and not just her time with Yennefer, which has been recent, but all of this potential of a different story that could have been told. That's really what's being kind of brought forth. She could have been another Calanthe. She could have been this. She could have been that. She could have been a witcher. She could have been a sorceress. Like, all of these futures are being snipped away, and so it's really it's sad, and it makes the impact of the emotional stuff later really hit a lot harder.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And at this point, I believe after we finish here, and like Geralt and Codringer sort of like part ways amicably, Codringer says he'll research prophecies for Geralt, essentially. And then we cut back to Applegat, our messenger boy, who is at an inn, and he is like, messengers, we're allowed a lot with our little medallions on our shirts. We can take any horse, so a lot of innkeepers don't like us. So I sit down at this inn, and I'm like, don't worry, my horse is fine. I just need to rest
He
for a minute.
immediately announces to everyone, my horse is fine.
You can tell he's so proud of his work, and he feels and he's like, I'm he's the best at what he does, and he's so happy to be working
best
again.
Amazon delivery driver.
Exactly.
He's like, but my family was there's that sense of pride in it.
Yeah.
But at this inn, these like 4 creepy Nilfgaardian guys show up.
Well,
and they're
first Geralt walks in, and he's like, hey buddy, you're gonna want to get out. He's
okay.
Oh yeah.
Wait. Pause. Geralt, I don't even remember if Geralt walks in, does he? Or
he does.
Is he like in a corner, Aragorn style?
Geralt sort of swoops up real fast and is like, hey buddy, something's about to go down, you might want to leave. And Applegat is like, no, why would I leave?
Why you said it so again? No!
So Geralt's like, all right, shit's about to go down. Geralt walks out. And then the freaky guys walk in.
And they're like creepy, and they're like, oh, have you seen whoever? And he's like, no.
And it's great because we do know that he's seen Ciri and Yennefer, the exact people who these 3 freaky, strong-looking guys are looking for. And Applegat is very convicted, so he's like, no, I haven't seen them actually. And they're like, I think
Lucas are like, clearly you have.
Quick on that.
Yeah.
I want to pause on this real quick, and I really want to, there's a lot of things. I'll make this quick because I know that this is going to keep happening because it's such a great book, even if it's a sad book. This scene is really cool because, once again, there's a lot of cool things happening as far as characters specifically go. The thugs that come in, I thought it was 3 specifically.
Yeah, there's
but
3.
So 3 come in. The other 2 kind of fade in the background in their descriptions, but one of them in particular really stands out. It's because he's called the Professor, and so you immediately hear that moniker, and you're like, all right, so this is kind of like, because the Professor, if is he a sorcerer? Is he something else? You don't know, because it seems like academia equates to magic a lot times in this world. So I'm like, what? But he has these really cool spectacles, and they have blue crystals in them. So I'm just picturing this really kind of, I can't help but picture like a steampunk dude a little bit with the
that description stuck with me too. The blue crystal glasses. Yeah, it's
very maybe not steampunk, but it's very like magical alchemy vibey. And so he's talking like real posh and stuff too. Sorry, I'm gonna get my dog in a second. But anyway, he's talking real posh and everything. And so he comes in, based off of the dialogue that has just happened, that Geralt has already spoken with the tavern people and is like, okay, guys, you guys can take the bounty on these people's heads. Just, don't tell them I'm here. And so Geralt's out in the
yard
outside. And so when they come in, everything's tense. And of course, Applegat's whatever, is just like completely oblivious. Like, he's kind of noticing some of these things, but it's you, the reader, that's putting it together. So this is such a dynamic scene, and it's super fun. Go ahead, continue. I gotta get my dog.
It's great. Essentially, Geralt from the outside is like, send out the one who hired you, and I'll just kill them, and the rest of you go on your way, or I'll kill all of you. And Geralt does end up killing, I believe, all 3 of these men, if I'm not mistaken.
Kind of off screen a bit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because we're in Applegat's perspective, and he's just a little freaked out in the corner, what the fuck was that about? Which is great. I love it because we are reading this with the context, and we just have this guy who's like trying to do his job, like oh
Yeah,
boy.
it's so fun to be the voyeur of like, oh, but that's what's really happening. I don't know why, but it just is.
It is because like anyone who's worked customer service or done any kind of job has seen some drama happen outside, and you're like, oh god, wonder what that's about. Like it's
That's
like
so
that.
funny. Yeah, it is like that. Yeah, that's true. I think after this we go to Ciri and Yennefer, right?
Well, first, I think we'll end Applegat's thing because he rides
Right.
on and he goes to deliver his message to the king, and he gives a message to Dijkstra, who is the like the voice of the king, King Visimir, I believe, Redania.
Yeah,
I believe
this
it's
is where we're going to
Redania.
start running into.
Okay. If I'm not, anyone correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the message is for the king of Redania, and he delivers the message to Dijkstra, which is essentially the Lion Cub of Sintra is dead. He doesn't know Ciri by name. He knows her as the Lion Cub of Sintra. He delivers that message that the Lion Cub is dead. The troops are ready. Keep an eye on Foltest, essentially, is the delivery. Dijkstra sends him a new message to deliver back to shit if I remember where he's delivering the message back to, but I think it's a warning to the troops that is like, there's been a betrayal, the Flame has an army and is waiting for an excuse to attack, essentially. Which is to say, Nilfgaard is going to attack, there's been a betrayal, someone lied to you. And if you recall earlier, Applegat ran into Ciri and she said, gray feathers, hot sand, and as he's riding back to deliver this message that he's memorized, he's riding past, like squirrel territory. There's squirrels in the trees, and a scoia'tael arrow hits him in the back. And
Yes,
he
for those who don't remember, squirrels are elven commandos, as they call them.
Not
They're the like
they're,
rebel terrorist
yeah,
group.
scoia'tael are the elves who have allied with Nilfgaard at this point.
Yeah, they're like a terrorist group, is essentially sort of how they're treated in the book. And they're called commandos in text, so that's why I call them that. But yeah, they hit him and he goes down.
Yes, and then he falls onto the hot dirt and he dies, just as Ciri vaguely
Had
predicted earlier.
Real quick, I just want to mention, it's really, again, another dynamic part. You get a switch in perspective. The switch in perspective right before this scene is to the squirrel where they're like, there's two people arguing. One's a scout, and they're like, "Hey, somebody's coming." It's Applegat, and the other one's like, let's shoot him." And they have an argument over the necessity of shooting him, and he's like, "Nah, come on, I got this." And so it's more like a sport to him. And so when it happens, it's really a nice build up to this. It's because you know what's going to happen before it happens. Plus, also, I don't know if you mentioned the pinch in the shoulder thing, where he's thinking,
Oh, he felt it beforehand.
yeah, he
felt
thought maybe a tick or something had bit him, and he's like, oh god, it's like
Yeah, I
death
wonder what that
creeping
is.
up on
Yeah.
him, you know. And so once that happened, I'm like, oh, I knew it was going to be feathers, probably on fletching. So once that happened, I was like, oh, he's getting shot in the back. That sucks. And so it's really a nice buildup. Plus, again, if anybody wants to know how to tell a story from a million different perspectives, well, read these books.
It's so well done. Like it's
I often hate multi POV books, but this is done very. There is a method behind the madness. He's
the
switching
real,
viewpoints.
I never say this word right. Specificity, I believe, to the choice of viewpoint,
who you
characters
are
that-
in
yes.
and when.
And it gives you exactly the information that the author needs without being ham-fisted about it. Like it gives you a greater sense of the world at the same time. It's beautiful and it's fun still. It's still entertaining. You don't feel like you're being like taught a history lesson.
No, it's really nice. And that's one of the things that I remember we talked about, I think in Blood of Elves, where like the different sections of the book are almost by like different point of views. Like Triss is the main person for a while, and then
I disagree with that. It's just for like one chapter. You were just thinking about her because like,
Triss,
she was
no. She was the point of view character for a while.
Ciri was the main point of view character. Even she was for a minute.
No, Triss was no. But I'm just saying part of it was Triss was anyway. We go over in this case to the Ciri and Yennefer
Which is so
road trip.
fun. one of my favorite things about Yennefer, this is why Yennefer is one of my favorite characters, like my favorite female fantasy characters of all time. I love that when she gets what she wants, she becomes a mother, and she doesn't get her like nasty little edges like sanded off just because she's a mom now. She's not like sweet soft little mom character. She's still a huge bitch, like all the time. She's just like she's exactly as she was, and she loves people despite this. But like she's so old. She knows who she is. She's not going to change, and I love that. I love to see it. I love to see her make mistakes. And I love to see her like sit in it and feel bad about it. And it's so fun. She's such a fun character.
There's such great like banter between her and Ciri in terms of them being like kind of crotchety to each other. But then there's also moments where you do see that like there's a nice balance between like, oh, Yennefer actually is quite cares for Ciri and is nice to her at times, but they're also just going to kind of banter back and forth a little bit. And it's very cute. In general, I really like the way he writes Ciri as well. Ciri comes off as just very young in a way that a lot of YA, not that this is YA, but like YAE fantasy protagonists tend to not. Like she is a child.
14, I believe, in this, and she reads like a 14. I remember being 14. I remember like vaguely wanting attention, but then also being like, I don't really know what's happening, and this is gross. And also, like, why is everyone talking to me like I'm a kid still? And also, I actually don't know anything about anything, and like, just like,
but I'm gonna bluff my way through because it's embarrassing not to know.
Exactly, and it's like he captures that sort of like teenage girl thing very well, especially when she's walking around the city with our boy Fabio later.
Our boy Fabio, what a phrase!
But
real quick, in this scene, I wanted to mention, so you get the, I don't remember if it's been kind of hinted at or told before about the lilac and gooseberry stuff, but we get this nice transformation scene when they do get to the outer skirts of the city before they get to the city walls. You see Yennefer take out a mirror and like kind of primp herself up, and Ciri's pointing it out, and she's like, well, why can't I do that? And then she's
I want
like,
to be pretty for the city too.
I know, right? And she's like, not right now. We are in hiding, and this is my way of hiding in a certain way, just like you need to hide.
But she says it in kind of a bitchy way. She's like, "Don't worry, no one's going to notice you."
Yeah, I know.
That's so funny.
That's what she's like, "Oh, they would never notice you."
And we also get it's sort of implied that she uses like a spell on herself to briefly make herself kind of the center of attention. So like there's that too. But she was being a bitch on purpose when she said that line. She's like, "Oh, don't worry, like little duckling or whatever. No one will see you."
It captures a very kind of nice young adolescent girl thing of like wanting to be like a woman but not quite there yet, and so you look up to other women in a certain way that like a lot of books just don't really have because it feels too vulnerable. I think
it handles it so well in this. Like I feel it.
Okay, I'm gonna say this is gonna sound petty. I have a mini hypothesis that just occurred to me. Maybe the reason why this is not captured very well in a lot of YA novels is because a lot of YA novel authors are socially awkward and they never had good girlfriends. And they never had that bathroom stall buddy that helped them fix their hair and do their makeup.
I think they maybe did, or maybe like they're traumatized by it, but they don't want to look at it. They're just like, let's shove that away and just make the coolest girl boss ever, and like put on our blinders. I'm like, no, that's the fun part of having a teenage character, is the awful, nasty little bits.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because the other side is that a lot of male fantasy authors don't write women great because they just like don't understand them. But Sapkowski, you can tell like has met women that he liked. Like even the fact that he does not see putting on makeup as like a vain thing that Yennefer is doing, but a thing that she is doing for a reason or even just enjoys. And also, this is like maybe the only book I've ever read fantasy-wise that mentions tampons. Like, and it's just very straightforward about like that and having periods. And like, there's a lack of like, as much as he likes boobs, there's not an objectification of women or looking down upon womanhood and like that you see even in like women books. I just threw in a grenade right then. You go ahead.
I was going to say, even in like the Conclave, when there is like objectification of women, Geralt's checking out these girls, they are dressed hot on purpose. But like, you don't get the sense that the author is being like, oh, look at all these women wearing sheer shirts. Look at those sluts. Yennefer's thinking that. for sure. But like the author isn't, and you don't get it's not shamed in that sense. These are just women at a party who want to look sexy and are being kind of bitches about it. It's fun.
The key to it is that the key to it is that it's power. It's a source of confidence and power as opposed to a source of weakness.
And we'll get more on that when we get there, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I think a really good comparison for us, Val, I say Val specifically because of the book, was it Serpent in the Wings of Night, is the scene where she needs to wear, or she has to wear her like wedding gown thing or whatever. And it's like, oh, it's so sexy. Oh no. I mean, granted, in this world there's vampires, so she's like, oh, Nick. But like, that's like, that's an abuse to the reasoning behind this. I mean, really, she's just like, oh, I'm too sexy. Please don't look at me. It's so embarrassing. But that not in this one. So it comes across as super awkward. Oh, wait, Will.
Just saying, I will give the Serpent and the Wings of Night 1 ounce of credit, because in the very first one, when like she has to put on this dress for like the ball, she's like, I've actually always kind of wanted to wear a dress like this, and I do look really pretty in it. Like, I appreciated that tiny little moment. There was not much to appreciate in that book, but that moment, I was like, okay.
Yeah, you would say that the sequel yellowed on you. I will say, the thing about it is that Sapkowski emphasizes and respects that beauty is work. You know what I mean? Like, makeup is work. It's very funny. I remember reading a criticism of modern TV that all women have basically the same makeup, and that's such a flattening of how much work goes into being pretty, because you're just supposed to be naturally gorgeous as the societal standard that all women have to do their makeup, but also that what kind of makeup you can do can really be a very characterizing thing. Like, are you just like an eyeshadow girly? Do you actually put in that much time or whatever?
You guys know how much time it takes me to put on this clown makeup every
every time.
It's a weird like societal.
You look so like, you know, that I can't help but think to myself, I'm like, man, I'm the only bitch on here that doesn't wear makeup, I'm pretty sure. And I just can't be arsed to try. But no, wait, real quick, going back though. When you were, wait, it was the mention, but, Will, what were you just saying? I was just saying
that he recognizes that looking good is labor.
Yes, and that not everybody has the same. That's why I really enjoyed The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. If you've ever watched the show, it's okay. But the point is the main character literally is a twig, and she's got big doe eyes and big beautiful hair. But then you literally see that she starves herself. She measures herself 4 times a day. She goes through the effort of getting up 2 hours before her husband to put all the makeup on, and then she goes to bed with that makeup. But when he's asleep, she gets up and takes the makeup off, so that way he never knows the true face of his wife.
I haven't seen that, but that's very brief. Katie, that's oof. That's when I was like in middle school and I had some bad act. I used to think that was going to be my life. I was like, oh no one's ever going to be able to see my true face. I'm going to have to lie to everyone I ever know and like hide in the bathroom for 3 hours.
Oh no, shame.
It's like this weird like common secret no one talks about is how much work looking good is as a woman. Like we don't talk about it, but everybody knows it. Again, much like periods, which the book, just to bring it back, as straight out at certain times. But the two of them are going into a town, and they meet a banker. But before that, right, Ciri doesn't quite know why they're going to this town, and Yennefer is a bit like, shut up, nobody asked you, but in like a charming way. And eventually what they kind of come to realize, or Ciri comes to realize, is that Yennefer is going to drop her off at the sorceress school that's nearby called Barthusmol?
Aretuza.
Oh, no,
Aretuza.
Barthusmol.
I knew William was going to do this. I was like, oh, he knows it. That's why I said it. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have said anything. He knows it.
And Ciri is not happy about this because she just wants to hang with Geralt and Yennefer, and she doesn't want to be like put away.
Yeah, and she keeps being like, Yennefer, when are we going to meet up with Geralt? Like, let's meet up with Geralt. And she's like, shut up, we're going to I've got places to be, kid. Like, let's go.
It sounds like my stepmom. Shut up, child, that's not mine. We have to go to the bank.
But in a fun way.
Mm-hmm. So Yenna and Ciri go to the bank. It's a nice dwarf who knows Yennefer, and she's she asks about mail. She asks about, what does she ask about? She asks about money.
They
She,
talk
she
about
also
Geralt.
talk about
Politics.
Geralt. There's this incredibly cute thing where, yeah, do you want to say it?
Well, sure. So essentially, like, the banker knows that Yennefer and Geralt have
He ships
been
them.
An item.
involved.
He ships
Yes.
them.
And he's like, it seems like Geralt has some debts. Do you want to pay those off? And Yen is like, no, absolutely not. He would never forgive me for that. However, can you just make sure that whenever he gets a job, he's paid really well for it? Can you just send out some feelers for that?
It's so funny because she's literally like, oh, that idiot won't accept more. He barely makes enough to get by and heal himself after each job. Let's get around this. Just up the bounty, and it's so cute. And like, she also paid his bill somewhere else for something without telling.
Yeah. And while they're talking about this, like, Ciri was given a book that she was actually interested in, but she was fully not reading it. She was like listening, eavesdropping, like, like the whole time. Very cute.
Uh-huh.
And then eventually, like, the banker kind of like notices Ciri eavesdropping, and he's like, hey, I got some boys. Do you want to like take a little stroll around the town? And Ciri's like, yeah, absolutely. And Yennefer's like, and our like banker boy's like, no, my boys are good. My boys will take care of her. Don't worry. Like, come out here, Fabio. Fabio comes out here, and Yennefer scoffs Fabio and was like, stand up, Ciri. And Ciri stands up and is like taller than Fabio. And the banker is like, trust me, my boy is great. He's good. He's gonna take care of her. They'll be back by noon, right, Fabio? And Fabio like gives a little speech. He's a very upstanding young man.
And impresses the absolute garbage out of Yennefer because she's like, there was a pause in the narration. It's like, and then there was a pause. And then Yennefer said, good job in picking out your employees. And it's so cute. And so he's supposed to be their Ciri's guide throughout the city. And so therefore you get a little montage of various parts of the city. It's both logistically helpful for later on, and then also helpful because slowly but surely, you want to say something? Go.
There's a bunch of little delightful world building things you get while they walk around the market. First, Ciri's like, I want like he's like, do you want to go look at the the skyline essentially? And Ciri's like, what's that? He's like, that's Thanedd. That's where the Isle of Sorcerers is, and that's Aretuza. And Ciri's like, Aretuza looks like a prison. And he's like, no, it's not a prison. It's a school. And Ciri's like, does anyone ever leave there? Do you ever see any sorceresses around here? He's like, well, no, but I'm sure they can leave. They're sorceresses, right? And Ciri's like, that's what I thought. So she's like got her little wheels turning in her head. She's like, well, let's go see the market. So they go down to see the market. They eat donuts. They run into some various, like, there's a preacher who's like, sorcery is evil and none shall do it and you'll burn forever. And Ciri's like, that's dumb. Ciri gets her ass grabbed by some guy. And wait, I gotta read exactly what she says because it's very funny.
I know.
Funny.
Keep your hands to yourself, Baldy. Grab your own arse, you whitewashed tomb.
And the book's like, yeah, she learned that from Yennefer.
Yeah.
She's Yennefer's pupil.
It's also really cute. It's because by the way, a really good characteristic feature as somebody who works with children of this age, is one of the best characteristics or characterizing things in this scene is that Ciri is a disgusting garbage disposal for just food. Ciri just continuously
eats. Donuts.
She's like,
donuts.
donuts. Give me another donut. Oh, a bag of pears, pop, whatever. She just eats the whole time, which is exactly what kids her age do because they're growing.
And there's also like a moment where like Fabio says something and Ciri's like, how did you know Yennefer wasn't my mother? And he's like, well, Yennefer's very beautiful. And Ciri's like, like she's just like,
She's just
apple angrily.
Just like eating her donut, like,
yeah, it's the donut.
There's this whole thing where they the day culminates with like they go to see a wyvern and she's like, that's not a wyvern.
But no, very fair. So first,
it's a freak circus is what they go to.
Fabio is like, I want to get my fortune told. Do you want to get your fortune told? And Ciri's like, that's not real. Absolutely not. And then Ciri sees like a guy be like, Basilisk, come and see the cool basilisk. It's going to poison you. Everyone get freaked out. And Ciri's like, I got to see that. We're going in there. And he's like, I don't know about that. So they go in like the little basilisk circus tent. And this guy is talking. He's like, "It's got a poison breath. It'll kill you and all of your children. Beware!" And Siri's like eating her donut. Like, that's not a fucking
That's not real.
basilisk. That's just an
Like, she's
an
just like
underfed
spitting the
weaver.
seed out.
Yeah, like an underfed weaver. And this guy's like, no, it's for sure a basilisk. Don't say anything, you weird kid. And she's like, and she like steps up there, and some other guy on a date who's like a knight or like a page or something, and he's like, "My lady, please don't step up. It's a dangerous creature." And Siri like sees the angry expression on this page's girlfriend, and she's like,
Oh, jealous.
like she's enjoying it a little bit. She's like, and then Bobby also steps up. She's like, "Please don't go." She's like, "I have 2 men, and I'm gonna go step up and prove that this isn't a basilisk." So she stands there and lets the creature breathe on her, and she's like, "See, it's not. I'm not dead." And then we learn that the cage is very fragile. It breaks out of the cage, and Siri's like,
Oops.
Right before this happens, we get a description of the audience, which is very sparse. But one of the audience members is an old merchant woman with a little fluffy dog. So again, I just want to point out what a wide and varied world. We're at a freak circus that vibes really hardcore with 1930s New York, or like Batman and Robin vibes. And you've got this whole scenario going on, which is really funny, especially with her having her Witcher education and everything, as Eden mentioned. And then you've also got a middle-class woman with her fluffy dog. And where does the wyvern go for it?
It breaks out and it chomps that little fluffy dog.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, buddy. And so what Siri does is, while everyone is in like hectic panic, she steals the sword off this page who was defending her. And she very quickly takes care of this malnourished wyvern. And she feels a little bad about it, but like everything's crazy. And she's like, "Shit, I shouldn't have done that." She puts like the sword
it's so much
back
funnier.
in his hand.
She kills it. She gives it to him, and he goes, "Oh, guys, he killed him.
Look what he did. He killed
Look
it.
what he
That's
did.
so
He was so
cool."
gallant." It's great.
And then Fabio's like, "No, but Siri," and she's like, "Yeah, no,
Look, he killed it.
Look,
He killed it.
Look, he killed it, everyone.
Let's get out before people think about why the basilisk got the wyvern got riled up to begin with.
And before Siri left with Fabio to go explore the city, Yennefer gave her this like a little thing for emergencies. Like, she's like, "If you get into trouble, press this." I know, Daz. Press this, and you'll be able to like get out of the situation. So she presses it, and she essentially turns invisible. And she's like, "Well, there's pros and cons to turning invisible, because now I'm being trampled by this crowd." And like she barely gets out of the crowd, and she like meets up Fabio in like the alleyway where they agreed to meet. And he's like, "Oh my god, are you okay? You killed that thing. That was so cool. Are you crazy?" And then these 2 sorceresses stroll up, and they're like, "How did you get out of Aretusa, little girl?"
Yeah, they definitely think she's part of the private school
and
sorority.
And she's like, "We saw that magic. Well, like, what's going on?" And like, essentially, they take Siri into custody. And our next scene, we flip to Yennefer figures out what's going on. We are with Margarita Lozantile, Josiah DeVries, and Yennefer in the baths of Aretusa.
Being hot.
Not just no, not that. They went to the Gull. The Gull is by far the most luxurious inn in all of this town, and they not only are staying there, they've also rented out the entirety of the spa below, including the
and
private
they're ordering
baths,
carafes of wine.
It's so funny.
It's very much a wine mom moment.
Yeah, and so the energy is Margarita and Yennefer are very much like college friends who are just like kind of buddy, like just almost like joking together.
I love you,
getting
buddy.
a little messy. Josiah is old as shit. She is done with it. Like, she's one of the oldest sorceresses, if not the oldest sorceress. She's kind of watching it, sipping wine like these bitches. And Siri is sitting there thinking, "Wow, Margarita has even bigger like boobs than Yennefer does. I didn't know that was possible."
Which
It's so funny.
I do also want to point out that Siri notices that Saida has basically what seems to amount to OCD, or not OCD, but or some type of meditative state that she goes into, where she just organizes everything in front of her. And that the reason I'm mentioning this, it's because later he puts this little itty bitty detail here about her organizing the things on the table in shape, size, and so on. And later on, even though it doesn't do much, and I'll just like, is it okay if I just mention it now, just because there's no way I'm gonna remember this. Later on, when a really big thing happens, Decided takes off the her bracelets to organize them on the table, and what she does after is it helps heighten the
Yeah,
scene because
you
you
get like,
saw
oh,
the
you saw
perspective.
her doing this like in a moment of
Yes.
like I'm just with my
Relaxation,
annoying
happiness.
friends.
It's from the
Yes.
perspective of a child, how she's doing
Hmm.
it when Siri was safe and with Yennefer and with these women in this nice spa in this little moment,
Yeah,
this
and
bubble
we'll
of
talk about
warmth.
what
And
happens with her later. But yeah, that is a good
yeah,
point. I actually didn't notice that specific detail. That's really that's good.
Very observant. Certain characters get introduced. There's a guard lady we'll meet like one more time that
Um,
shows up and then
it's
leaves.
funny because so like Yennefer and Margarita are in full like college girl he mode. So like a guard is coming down to ask a question, and they like pose naked, like, and then the guard that walks down is just like the straight laced woman, and it just like does not go
It
over
does.
at all. But essentially, like, Siri is watching. She's watching the interactions. She's going to fetch more carafes of wine. She sees how the guard is able to like leave the inn, and she's like memorizing the way these women talk, the way they like get what they want.
carry themselves.
And when at a certain point, when like Yen and Margarita are like pretty drunk, they're like, "Oh, these carafes are so small. Go get another one." Siri goes up and is like, "Get me a
Is it
horse, open the
Margarita?
gate, and I'm out of here." And because Siri has the confidence, the innkeeper is just like, "Whoop," like lets her out.
I think it's
No,
really
it is
funny
Margarita. You're right.
too. I think
Margarita
it's
lives
really
Antila, yeah.
I remembered it's because I kept thinking of pizza. And so it's really funny though. It's because Margarita is spurned. She has just had a lover of many years that has a really high standing and kind of brought her like a little bit of like gossip. And she's broken up with him because she's unwilling to commit. And she's like, Yennefer, you were so right, especially with your Witcher, man. Just don't commit. It's so great. And she's like super bitter about it. But then she starts giving some bad advice, and she's just like, little one, talking to Sari, she's like, little one, you need to never have regrets. You need to go out. You need to have a time
It's
of
very
your
much
life.
drunk
You
mom
need to,
talking
yeah.
to like a
And
teen girl energy.
what Siri
great.
writes in the letter to Yennefer is she quotes Margarita and is like, so I must not regret. Goodbye.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you brought that up. Yeah, that's
that's
very
so
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Why didn't you leave him?" And they're like, "We thought she was a sorceress.
Like she was
You could do
talking
it."
just like you. Like he specifically said he was talking just like you to Yennefer, which I
Yeah.
thought was like really sweet. And yet, you know,
Yeah, salt
Yennefer
in the
was like,
wound.
"Ooh."
So proud, yet so angry.
Mhm.
Um, where's it
So
go from there?
then we
Oh.
cut to
Siri on the
Siri being
road.
lost in the woods on this horse.
Right.
And it's unclear kind of what's real and what's not.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's a thunderstorm. There's maybe the wild hunt is out. She sees visions of like the Black Knight with the wings that like traumatized her when she was a kid. Like she's just not really sure what's happening, but she's panicking, and she's like, "I always know where I am. I always know where I am," and she's not sure where she is. And then we cut to Dandelion, who is in a farmhouse right now, and then which we quickly learn is nearby. And he's just
Is it
like
just me or does Dandelion constantly show up when you're not? He's always like,
Dandelion
I
is-
swear it's
he's just
plot
like
relevant.
he's always looking for plot relevant stuff to write a song about.
It's so funny.
Which
Because
is
yeah,
why
a couple times in the series he'll just be like, "Oh, and then Dandelion was there and they met."
I love him and Geralt together. It's so funny. And it's clear that they love each other, but like their relationship probably started just because Dandelion was like, "There's always songs where you go."
No, there's such a nice moment later between him and Geralt.
Oh,
Where
and the
Geralt- he's like,
Gravelon Forest.
"Don't
Yeah.
don't get mad at me, Geralt." And Geralt's like, "I'm not mad at you. Why would I be mad at you?" And you're like, "Oh, they love each other. They're bros."
It's very sweet.
But yeah, in this case, she's having like these like dream visions of like the
Wild Hunt.
the Wild Hunt.
And
which-
Nilfgaard, like there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And Scoia'tael, like it's unclear what's real and what's
Mhm.
not when we're in Ciri's head, I would say.
Yeah, and the Wild Hunt will become a big deal in this third video game, from what I understand, because it's called the Wild Hunt. So we'll have to wait to see if that becomes important. And then I think it's here where she.
Yes.
No, that happens later. I
So
think.
essentially,
What?
like Dandelion's at the.
Getting
We
myself-
switch to Dandelion's perspective. Geralt comes back to the farmhouse and he's like to the farm couple. He's like, the Wild Hunt is out. Just like close your doors, keep your kids in bed at night. They might have nightmares, but as long as you keep your doors shut, not to
Yeah,
worry.
I think
They'll
the
just ride on
phrase
through.
what was really cool, I really liked this, and there's these little nods to just cultural lore too that's really great. And how to cultivate that, I feel like I guess just the basis for it. I wonder where he gets the basis for it. It must be like a turn phrase for something else, like weather or something like that on a farm. I mean, as you said, he is really blue collar, so thinking about those kinds of things and transferring them into a fantastical tool, it would make sense. But he says, usually this time of year in the summer, they turn north in the wind
Yes.
before they hit ground, and so kind of sounds like a tornado forming or something like that. And so I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like the way that sounds. But of course,
And then
it's a
Geralt
little
hears
bit,
an actual
yeah.
like horse steps, and he's like, "Oh, I wonder what that's about." So he steps outside, and then whoop, Yennefer like zoops into the the field with Ciri in tow, and everyone's like, "Oh boy, here's some stuff going on." And we're still in Dandelion's perspective at this point, so he's like, "Oh man, I wonder where Ciri's gonna go. Is she gonna run to Yennefer, or is she gonna run to Geralt?" And like, there's like sort of a pause where like Yennefer is just sort of standing there, and Geralt's just like standing there, and Ciri just sort of like staggers forward and then collapses.
Instead of having to
Um,
pick a parent.
it is
And
a pretty
we
cool
learned
moment.
a moment later that she fainted on purpose because she did not
She didn't
want
want
to
to
choose
pick
between
who
them.
to go to.
It's like a dog that just goes belly up because he's like too confused about which owner is the more loved one. Definitely the vibe it specifically gives off. But one thing I do want to mention is it's really cool, and as the reason why I want to mention is just also a tip for, I guess, which perspective you want to choose at what moment. This is a pretty fun moment in the fact that it's kind of like low-key epic, because there are no stakes, so something badass can happen in this moment without it being too like worked up upon or anything. And it's kind of a fun little interlude where Yennefer appears, but it's very over dramatic the way she appears from Dandelion's perspective. And Geralt there, Witcher, white hair, sword out, ready to take on what seems to be like the ghosts of the Wild Hunt behind Ciri. But then Yennefer comes in a flash of light and it's just like cool mage word, or of course cool spell words, and then like banishes them off. And then so it's a really fun scene, I think, to construct, and to have it from Dandelion's perspective means you can kind of make it a little bit more pretty. Not that I don't think it really happens in particular, or if it does, I would have to go back and study the language. But the point is this would be a great opportunity if you're like, hey, I don't usually want to bring attention to like these scenes. It's because I want them to seem like more realistic or like more grounded in the moment, or especially if it's a character like Geralt where it would be grounded and more mechanical or logistical, like how do I get from point A to point B to defeat the monster thing, right? But if you did it from Dandelion's perspective, you get the opportunity to be like, and then she flourished her hands and her really awesome manicure shined in the light. You know what I mean though? Like, so you can really go into the more pretty details when you switch a perspective to a character where it suits it.
Yeah, and this is I want to read this, and it's kind of a big chunk, but I do want to read it because the next bit is also in Dandelion's perspective, and this is when Ciri wakes up.
Oh, this is great.
And
This part's great, yeah.
So Ciri wakes up, and she sneaks out to kind of spy on Geralt and Yennefer, who are talking out in the fields. And Dandelion catches her. Again, we're in Dandelion's perspective. He's watching her, and they have like a little back and forth. He's like, and he realizes that Ciri fainted on purpose. They like talk about it a little bit. It's the first time they've talked to each other. It's very sweet, but I think I'll start here, where Ciri is kind of trying to analyze like what they're like Geralt and Yennefer are talking about. Look through that hole again and tell me what they're doing. Ciri bit her lower lip and leaned over and put her eye closer to the hole. Madame Yennefer is standing by a willow. She's plucking leaves and playing with her star. She isn't saying anything and isn't even looking at Geralt. And Geralt's standing beside her. He's looking down, and he's saying something. No, he isn't. Oh, he's pulling a face. What a strange expression. Childishly simple, said Dandelion, finding an apple in the grass, wiping it on his trousers, and examining it critically. He's asking her to forgive him for his various foolish words and deeds. He's apologizing to her for his impatience, for his lack of faith and hope, for his obstinacy, doggedness, for his sulking and posing, which are unworthy of a man. He's apologizing to her for things he didn't understand, and for things he hadn't wanted to understand. That's the fault That's the falsest lie, said Siri, straightening up and tossing the fringe away from her forehead with a sudden movement. You're making it all up. He's apologizing for things he only now understood, said Dandelion, staring at the sky, and he began to speak with the rhythm of a balladeer. For what he'd like to understand, but is afraid he won't have time for. For what he will never understand, he's apologizing and asking for forgiveness. Meaning, coincidence? Destiny? Everything's so bloody banal. That's not true, Siri stamped. Geralt isn't saying anything like that. He is not even speaking. I saw for myself. He's standing with her and saying nothing. That's the role of poetry, Siri, to say what others cannot utter. It's a stupid role, and you're making everything up. That is also the role of poetry. Hey, I heard some raised voices coming from the pond. Have a quick look and see what's happening there. Geralt, said Siri, putting her eye once more to the hole of the wall, is standing with his head bowed, and Yennefer's yelling at him. She's screaming and waving her arms. Oh dear, what can it mean? It's childishly simple, said Dandelion. Dandelion stared at the clouds scudding across the sky. Now she's saying sorry to him.
It's such a great scene because it really captures so much about the book's tone in terms of it's really funny. Like I genuinely laughed at it. It's both a subversion of kind of a more fantasy, high fantasy style, but at the same time is kind of engaging with it as well. You kind of get that, like, yeah, Dandelion is not correct, but he kind of is correct insofar as, like, that is kind of emotionally what's happening.
Yeah, and I love Ciri's reaction to it. I love her. That's just fundamentally not what's happening. Like, her irritation, like, cracks me
great.
up. It's very charming. And I was talking to Chris about this a little bit last night in the on the like Patreon chat, and like she was like, I get what this is doing, and like I would argue this is good because it's good to see this from Ciri's perspective. It kind of sets up the loneliness that Ciri is going to feel later by having been rejected by Geralt, feeling rejected rather by Geralt and Yennefer all at once. But Chris was also saying, and I feel like we know Geralt and Yennefer enough that this scene is impactful. Like, we can understand. We've seen this argument between them before. Mm-hmm. We know their back and forth.
Their dance.
Yes, but I also think Chris had a good point when she said, like, there's sort of like the distance here there's a kind of cheapening of it, and we're about to switch to a scene where they're kind of lovey-dovey and it doesn't quite feel earned. But it's also in a way that, like, this is a pattern for them also, like, shoving things, like, we'll have a big blow up and we'll shove it under the rug. But I do think it's worth mentioning, kind of, that because of the distance and us going straight into a scene with the two of them being very, I love you, I love you, I love you, kind of with each other, and only having it seen through Ciri's eyes, I just wanted to bring it up.
I also think it is a, I wouldn't say a cheap way. It is not cheap by any means, but it is definitely the slip and slide version of getting through the massive issues between them without actually putting in the dialogue, which we all know he's totally competent and totally willing to do, because there are certain parts of this book where it's all just dialogue. But it's an easy way.
I would argue that it's not getting over it, though. It feels, even in the next scene, like putting a Band-Aid on it. But yeah,
I know. No. I don't mean getting over it per se. I just mean not having it on screen literally cuts down word length. And so by doing that, I think that's really masterful, because you're already going to have a lot of other things that are going to be going on. And this is also not like, I mean, it's a minor plot thing, the romance, but it's not a major thing that deserves, say, political scheming in pure dialogue for maybe 10 pages, So it's also, I think, just also a good use of time. Don't linger on this part. And also, simultaneously, let's characterize Dandelion and Ciri's first interaction together and how it's I was about to say Lionel. Shame. Garrett. I can't even fucking say their names. I don't. My brain just imploded.
I'm so confused. I don't even know if you were going to...
Garrett.
Oh, Geralt and Yennefer.
Sorry. How Geralt and Yennefer are the two reasons. It's the only reason why Dandelion and Ciri really know each other at this point. And so bringing together, it's very, like, everything comes together in a weave that feels like a really solid scene.
And it's very charming to see them interact with each other. I like it a lot. I think it's adorable. And,
Yeah, no, and
Yeah,
again,
they're a
like,
good
and
dynamic.
Chris, if I misinterpreted or if you have anything to add to what I
Chris
said, like,
is
please in the comments.
Chris is a bit of a Yennefer hater, and I don't.
She's not.
did you
She's
say
not.
Jennifer?
She's not a
Yeah,
Yennefer hater.
Geralt
She's
and Yennefer. That's their
Oh,
ship name.
Jennifer. Is that
Yennefer.
what the ship name is? That's
No, I have
dumb.
no idea. I just put their two names together. I have no idea if that's actually their
Yenalt?
ship name.
I guess that is the
Yenalt
Chris
is
is
actually
very
not
smart,
bad.
and Chris knows a lot about The
Yes.
Witcher, and I respect her opinion quite a bit.
Yeah,
So
but she doesn't think they should be together, and so she's fundamentally wrong.
anyway, shall
Oh,
we
no,
go
I
into
don't
the
think they should.
conclave,
Yeah,
you
go
guys?
ahead.
Let's say conclave time.
Yes, it's
Conclave
conclave
time.
time.
All right, so we cut abruptly to Geralt and Yennefer at this big sorcerer party. This is a party we know that Yennefer has invited Geralt to several times over their many years of courtship, and Geralt's always been like, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be around a bunch of people who disrespect me, essentially." And like it's just like, but like this time he's got full hard eyes on, and he's like, "Yeah, of course I'll go with you, Yennefer, for sure." So he goes to this party. He's a little uncomfortable in his little doublet, but he's like, "All right, I'm gonna do this for my woman," and it's very sweet. He's trying his best. He's clearly very
You know what?
uncomfortable.
I have never vibed so hard with Geralt until this
I-
scene
Geralt
where
at
he's
a
like,
every
"I'm
time he's at a
so
party.
hungry. I am no," but he's like, "I'm
Like,
so
where are the
hungry.
chairs?
Why can't I sit and eat and talk with people and drink? Where?" And then she's just like, "Oh no, it's a faux pas to eat too much. We have to keep walking." And he's like, "This is the worst party ever."
It's so
Like,
funny.
yeah, she's walking him around, and she's like, "These are all the faux pas. We don't have chairs because why would we sit down? We want to show off our lovely dresses. Are you crazy, Geralt?" And he is like, "Hey, Yen, at one point, I love you," and she's like, "You've never said that to me before." And he's like, "Surely I've said that to you before." She's like, "Not out loud," because she can read his mind sometimes. And he's like, "Well, what's the difference?" And she's like, "It makes a huge difference." And she's like, clearly just so touched in
Yeah.
this moment.
He's getting
She-
laid that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's like, "Hey, can I kiss you right now in front of all these people?" And she's like, "No, absolutely not." And they keep making their rounds. Yennefer runs into Sabrina Glevisig, I believe, who, by all accounts, their interaction looks like two giddy schoolgirls meeting up after several years. And Geralt's like, "If I didn't know her, I'd think that this was a real sweet," but they're being such catty bitches to each other the whole time. And like Sabrina is wearing like a sheer shirt, like everything's visible, huge tits, like a slit up her skirt up to her hip, and
Yep.
Geralt's like looking at it. He's looking, he's not looking.
Yeah.
And
He's like, "If only I had some shrimp to eat instead of stare at these
Right.
boobs."
And of course, Yennefer, being the bitch that she is like, "Geralt, don't you just love Sabrina's shirt?" And Geralt's like,
Like, it's really funny. That's like that's all the sorceresses there are just like real slutty looking. But again, the way that Sapkowski describes it is always like a little bit funny. Like, you know, he thought no one could be bustier than Yennefer, and then they were. That kind of like a thing, or like Geralt couldn't look at her charms. Charms is what he used in previous books. And they also meet up with Triss, and it's very cute
It
because
is
instead
sweet,
of just
actually.
like kissing Triss on the cheek, he actually like hugs her. And I'm like,
and
oh.
there's no like sexy description. Geralt's just like, he just like dropped like a formality and just gave Triss a little hug. Like, and that was actually a really sweet little moment. And
I love that for
Yennefer
Triss.
like kind of like hisses sideways to Geralt at one point. She's like, Triss is my friend. I know what happened, you weirdo. But she's my friend regardless. You're gonna go over there. I'm gonna talk to Triss and like
I'm gonna
set
have
the
a word.
record straight. And
And you go sit over there.
yeah. And Geralt's like, "Okay."
Yeah, that's
And here's-
literally, guys, that's verbatim.
And here's two other sorceresses who think he can't understand them, being like, "Oh, is that the Witcher she kept in town for a little bit? Oh, maybe I should have sex
And
with him
everyone's
now."
like, "Oh, it's Yennefer's Witcher." I thought she made him up. And like Geralt has really good hearing, so he overhears like I don't know if it's Sabrina and like Marty or something, like a couple of sorceresses who are just like, "Oh, I wonder if she put a spell on him, like her of all." Like they're talking shit about Yennefer, and Geralt just like pretending not to listen, just like
But-
slurping's like.
It's also kind of funny. It's because that kind of implies that he's good looking enough that they don't believe, or unique enough at the very. But at some point, he's got points, and they want to pull as many points as they want away from
he's
her.
sort of like a rare breed. Like they want to get his fingers in him, even if he's not traditionally attractive. There's like, oh, like how he's like a weird little mutant. I want to. Why does she get the weird little mutant?
Yeah, exactly. It's a really fun scene because it's just fun to see like a party where everyone's scheming a little bit and being very high school. And then he does have a real conversation with a guy who's like the spy master. I think we met him last book, didn't we?
Yeah. So before this, like, not Kira Metz. He does talk to Kira Metz. So if you played The Witcher 3, you will recognize the name Kira Metz. But he talks to Philippa Eilhart and Dijkstra very briefly. Because and Dijkstra's like, you're going to talk to Vilgefortz tonight. And Geralt's like, no, I'm not going to make a bet about that. And Dijkstra's like, you want to make a bet? I bet you will. And Geralt's like, no, I'm not going to make a bet. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm just like, leave me alone. I'm trying to have a party with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And eventually, like, Yen catches up with Geralt as he's talking to several women in like sheer shirts, and like Yen is like, look where I found you. And they leave and they bang it out. They have a very nice night. Yen is like, oh, that was really good sex. And
it's been
boy,
so
I haven't
long
had
since-
sex in so long.
Yeah.
With
I know.
one person who told me I love me in so long. And Geralt's like, I'm not falling for this trap, girly. So he just doesn't say anything.
No, we missed two parts in the party though. There's one part he's talking to a guy who the spy
The
guy.
Vilgefortz thing we
Dijkstra.
get in flashbacks, which is what I'm about to get to. Because he sleeps with Yennefer, and Yennefer's like, what
Who's
did you
the guy
talk
who
to
tells him no? They
Vilgefortz?"
want you to look then.
It's the spy that she already mentioned. The guy.
Oh, okay.
Dijkstra.
Oh, the guy from the
Yeah.
game. Okay, yeah.
Dijkstra?
Yeah, no, that was just the guy I was gonna say. He has a funny line about like, stop trying to not look at their boobs. They wore it so
Yeah.
you would look at it.
Oh no, it's not Dijkstra. That's no, you're right. I did want to mention that. That is Dorian Gray, who we know from
Him.
the villain Trettenmart the Golden Dragon short
Yes.
story way
He's-
back in the day. He was the
Oh,
one who
really?
he was the animal enthusiast. He was the protector.
Oh,
like, he
yeah,
was like
the druid.
We're not gonna kill the dragon. So like Geralt's talking to him. He's like, hey, old buddy. And Dorian Gray is like, yeah, the sorceress is like, oh, look at them flaunting it. They want you
They're
to look at
wearing
it. And
such
Geralt
and such
immediately
fur and
looks
such
at
and such
boobs,
leather.
and then Dorian Gray starts talking about, yeah, look at all of their like different kinds of leather on their shoes. Isn't it disgusting? And Geralt's like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, buddy. It's really funny.
You're right. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, you're welcome. You're right though. It was a druid and not the spy guy. It's hard to remember. But yeah, so
so
at
many
this
names.
point, the two of them are post-coital in bed. Coital. And it's interesting because there are many parts in this book where like people will have a conversation about a thing that happened earlier and the text kind of goes into like the narration of it. Kind of like recap, even when it's from... We'll talk about it more with Dandelion. But I also noticed that like a lot of Yennefer and Geralt's conversations tend to happen in bed. Like their big one in the second short story one, that big blow up was like a lot of that conversation. Yeah, was in like bed together, and like this is the first I think big conversation they've really had since then. And like yeah, they this is I think it speaks to the
Unhealthiness
problems
of
they
their
had.
relationship.
Yeah, the kind of like teenage, almost like we're in the spring of our relationship and part of our connection is very physical. And so that's when we kind of feel more open at times. And there's also...
it's like, you can keep going if you...
It's okay. We have to let the...
I was just going to say, like, it very much reads like these are two people who are old people. They know they're very fixed in their ways, whether it's healthy or not, and they do love each other regardless, but they're fixed in their unhealthy ways so intently that they're almost just like, if we're going to make this work, we almost have to ignore problems. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not healthy. Like, it's not like, but they're just like so stubborn and they do love each other so much and they want it to work so bad that they're just like, I do not see it. I'm looking the other direction.
We're ignoring it. Like, girl is literally like, I know she's up to something and maneuvering me somehow, but I don't want to think about it right now. I mean, I think he does that later. But yeah, a lot of their conversations are kind of post-coital in this kind of like temporary bubble of intimacy. And this happens afterwards, but there's a part where she like he wants her to he knows that she's going to be reading his mind, and so he starts thinking about pleasant things,
Like
so it's nice for her.
and the dew in the morning.
It's so sweet.
Yeah.
But then he lets his brain drift to like a kind of a fantasy he has of them in a house together, living simply.
Scene, like it starts when they wake up, and Yennefer's like, "Oh, you want to build a house for me?" And Geralt's like, "Fuck, you saw that?" Like,
which I think kind of
I
speaks to the like he doesn't really trust her with a part of himself, even as close or as nice as they are at times.
It's because it's a weakness to even have a fantasy of something so banal when he knows that he cannot allow himself to ever suppose that even pretending for the banality of it, she would lower herself to such a basic mundane existence.
And also that she wouldn't betray it. Remember Shard of Ice, like they were real close and she went and slept with like another dude. Like
and
there is an
Geralt has
extent to which
straight
she
up
does
left like her relationship out of nowhere when they had a pretty like
from what we
what's the
understand,
word I'm
things were
looking
going
for?
great.
Like
Yeah.
like a rudimentary day to day like life together, like for like a year basically.
Yeah, so there's an extent to which, like, yeah, as much as they want to connect, he doesn't really feel like he can be vulnerable with her.
Yeah.
And you can really see that sort of like pull and pull of their relationship in this, and it's interesting because I don't doubt the love is there. Like they clearly care about each other, but there's a real willingness to just sort of like pull the wool over your own eyes, kind of. And that happens, and it's interesting. But
Back to the
Yennefer
earlier in
does ask him like, "What did you and Vilgefortz talk about, man? Like, I have to know." So Geralt
and Vilgefortz, as we know, Val is
Vilgefortz is a sorcerer, and we get his whole ass backstory in this little conversation because Vilgefortz loves to talk about himself. But he battled at Sodden Hill. He's a sorcerer. He fought alongside Yennefer and Triss and like defended against the Nilfgaardian forces previously. And he's a big boy in the chapter of the council. I'm not going to get too specific.
There's
about
political
that.
Stuff.
However, like he really wants to talk to Geralt, so he pulls Geralt aside. And he's like, "Hey, buddy."
He's a little broski gay in this scene. I don't mean actually gay.
Yeah.
That's what Val said.
I'm so glad you said that because I was like, "Will, did you get a little?"
No,
it
they're straight guys being straight buds.
They are
in a hot tub together.
There is a sexual tension in their discussion, and it has to be on purpose to a certain degree.
I'm glad.
Okay.
Yes. So not for the sake of of viewers to be like, "Oh, how hot," because nobody's going to say that, but because
you and Val both did. But
there's a certain
it's not in a hot way. It's not. In a hot
it's not. It's in a manipulative way, and it's in a like the way that sorceresses are looking at him as a mutant. It's the same thing.
It has that kind of slightly personal, temptive, manipulative
through the scene
intimacy that often fangirls think is gay.
It's not like that, Will, and it is not like that at all. But I'm going to walk us through this scene.
Oh, I didn't even listen to him at all. I was just listening to you. I was like, go ahead. Continue.
What happens is, if you remember in the last book, there's a woman who is desperately in love with Vilgefortz. She does not, her whole lower mouth has been like ruined. She doesn't have a lower mouth. She's a sorceress, but like people don't look at it. Like essentially, she's mute. She talks into Vilgefortz's head. She's the only other person in the scene besides Geralt and Vilgefortz. Vilgefortz is walking him through this gallery of sort of historical art for like sorcerers, like and he's like the Gallery of Glory, I believe it's called. And he's like, "Geralt, look at all of these like beautiful paintings." And Geralt's like, "Yeah, that one's a cool one." And yeah, interesting. Like Geralt has some comments, but he's mostly quiet and respectful. And occasionally, like Geralt will have something to say, and Vilgefortz is like, what do you think about this one, man? Isn't that kind of interesting?" And then Geralt will have something to say, and he's like, "Oh, that's so smart. Have you ever wanted to be in one of these paintings before? You know, I've kind of seen us side by side in a painting." And Geralt's like, "What are you getting at, man?" Yeah. And like Vilgefortz is just like drawling on about death and philosophy, and Geralt's like, "This guy's fucking weird. Like, what is going on? I'm gonna read a little snippet just so you can get like a taste.
I love anytime Geralt has to interact with people who think they're really smart. And like,
Geralt's just like, dude.
Geralt's like, oh, dude, what's up?
Crack a brewski and talk to me.
Geralt isn't dumb, but he is very like, no, I'm not going to put up with this.
I feel like this little snippet that I'm about to read, like, fully encapsulates just like the
straightness.
The way So, what is death? Interrupted Vilgefortz. To you, the end. The end of what? Existence. It seems to me we've moved from art history to philosophy. Nature doesn't know the concept of philosophy, Geralt of Rivia. The pathetic, ridiculous attempts which people undertake to try to understand nature are typically termed philosophy. The results of such attempts are also considered philosophy. It's as though a cabbage tried to investigate the causes and effects of its existence, called the results of these reflections an eternal and mysterious conflict between head and root, and considered reign an unfathomable causative power. We sorcerers don't waste time puzzling on what nature is. We know what it is, for we are nature ourselves. Do you understand? I'm trying to, but please talk more slowly. Don't forget you're talking to a cabbage. That's just
it's a lot of it of Geralt just being like, all right, okay.
Like, all right, philosophy, bro. Like, continue.
I think so. I know I'm looking into this far more than it is, but the way it comes across to me is Vilgefortz is like, damn, I kind of find it hot that, like, and I don't mean this sexually. I mean, like, as in, it is an attractive feature. It is interesting. It is engaging. But I'm to, like, simplify it and make it silly. Dang, I think it's kind of hot the way you talk dumb to me, babe. Let's just keep talking a little bit dumber. How dumb are you, babe? Tell me.
I'm going to give you, so Vilgefortz, like, is like, Geralt, you and I we're not so different, you and I. And then he goes down on his spiral of, like, his backstory. So, Vilgefortz was abandoned in a gutter as a baby. I was abandoned in a gutter as a baby, and I was adopted by the Druids, who are basically witchers. They're wanderers, they're
weirdos,
bad, like kind of magic, good for nothing wanderers, and just like you. And he's like, and I had a proclivity for magic, I guess. And then eventually, down the line, some sorcerer found me, and he was like, you have a proclivity for magic, man. And I said, fuck you. I don't want anything to do with your stupid magic. I'm Vilgefortz, and I'm a lone wolf. And then he was like, and then I left the Druids. I didn't need them anymore. And then I did a whole bunch of nasty things. I murdered. I raped people. I stole things, and he like lists like every crime you could think of, and you're just like,
I'm a
you,
dirty
the reader,
boy, Geralt.
Are just like,
I'm a monster, and I need your big witcher slurp. I'm sorry.
And then
you're gonna get fired if you're not careful.
And then
you're no Jimmy Fallon.
It's like, and then after all of that, I fell in love with a sorceress, and Geralt is like, you should stop here and be very, very careful about the next thing you say with your comparisons between you and me. We're not the same. And then Vilgefortz is like, oh, don't worry, man. My story is so different from yours. This is where we completely branch paths. I fell in love with a woman who is domineering, spiteful, cold, a sorceress, a huge bitch, and I hated all of the things that she did. And she was so nasty, and like I couldn't stand letting her control me. And like you, the reader, are just like,
we were not singing this song, Little Birdie Man, last time we met.
Oh, and I think it was before this, but I gotta cut it back in. And there's a point where like Vilgefortz is straight like, Geralt, do you think women can be put to heel and controlled? And Geralt is like, and like, there's like a cut into Yennefer where she's like, what did you say? And he's like, man, what do you think I said?
yeah, it was really funny. That's where the kind of dual structure really helps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so like, essentially, like Vilgefortz describes being domineered by this Yennefer-esque sorceress, and he's like, I hated her the whole time, and I knew she didn't she didn't want me as just like a human. She wanted me because I was powerful and smart. And then I broke up with her, and then I became a sorcerer out of pure spite. Geralt. And Geralt was like, huh.
He's
hey, do you want to be a sorcerer, Geralt? You want to be a sorcerer? He's like, no, I actually kind of don't. I'm happy being a stupid wanderer.
Yeah.
For real.
For reals.
What's so funny too is that it's like, dude, from Geralt's perspective, I just feel like the whole time he's just like, I was there, dude. We had this conversation. I know you wanted to like kiss her butthole. Like I'm aware you wanted to marry her forever. You wanted children with her. You wanted the whole 9 yards. What are we getting
Different
at
kind
here?
of
You
ring.
can't just tell me that and expect me to believe this version of events.
It's like Vilgefortz is fucking crazy in this scene. Like I forgot what like a freak he was. Like I knew he was evil, but like I didn't like.
Yeah, you
He's
forget
just, like,
the
a
personality
cackling little-
to it.
Yeah. Oh my god! Like what a
Yeah,
nasty little
and
man.
the more political parts of it is that he's trying to get Geralt to be on his side, and he tells
Yeah.
Geralt, "You can't be neutral in what's going to happen." And remember,
Yeah,
Geralt's whole thing, even back to the early ones, is he's a Witcher. He doesn't get involved in the issues of men. He
and Geralt's like, why is everyone so mad at me for voting for Jill Stein all the time?
that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, no, it is though. And there is. I'm actually really. I just want to bring this up real quick. It's because when we get to Dandelion and his discussion later, I just would like to mention now, because this is where this comes up again, is the concept of whether it is ethical to consider yourself neutral, or whether it would be more ethical, more righteous in order to take a side. But then which side do you take then? And the thing is that makes me really angry a little bit in this book is that I feel Geralt keeps getting punished for the neutrality that he prizes, and I personally think that is the ethical choice. And I'm not like angry as in it's a bad thing in the book. I'm just personally as a reader frustrated that I believe he's right. I believe he is in the right, especially for his position in the world.
Katie, last election cycle, who did you vote for? Was it Jill Stein as well?
No, it wasn't. But that doesn't.
That's what
no.
this is sounding an awful
It's not
lot
the same
like.
thing at all. Well, okay, wait. Haha, yes, haha, you're so funny. But the point is it's not the same thing. Because the thing is this isn't a democracy in this world. It's
is
different.
very different. Yeah.
So that being said, I get really frustrated that he keeps getting like looked down upon and spat at for being neutral, but he should be neutral.
I think that's kind of one of the things the book is trying to talk about, and I'll let Vel talk because she did raise her hand.
Just to finish this scene very quickly, because we are about at the end, and then I do actually have something to say on that as well. The scene ends with Vilgefortz being like, "If you want Ciri to be okay, you're gonna join my team." Essentially, like it's a threat.
Mm-hmm.
But on the face of, very briefly, like on a personal note on the neutrality conversation, because I also have kind of mixed feelings about the way it's handled in the book, I love my dad to pieces. My dad is a very neutral man politically, and I'm not going to get too deep into my personal story, but like I do like there's a kind of like gentleness that a lot of neutral people have, but when politics are so heightened and like things are going crazy, you almost have to take a stand, and I think this is kind of what it's talking about. Like things are out of hand in a way that Geralt is kind of putting blinders on for. And
the Nilfgaardians are a different kind of threat than other human wars.
Yeah, and like Geralt is willfully not really looking at it because it's affecting the things around him. But like,
he's set in his ways, like you said with Yennefer. Like he kind of does what he does because that's how he's done it.
Yes, and I suppose then. So I guess what it comes down to is this: I don't know how much of an influence Geralt really has upon the political machinations of people.
Not that much in general.
So that's why I say the neutrality seems appropriate in this term, because his goal is to protect Ciri, make sure Yennefer doesn't get into too much trouble, and that's about it. Kill some monsters. And I think that's appropriate for his size and standing in this world. Now, if he was somebody with more power, then maybe I would say something different, because yeah, you're right. Nilfgaard is definitely not going to be great.
However, Ciri is the thing in the middle of everything. She is the core of like this political.
But both sides want to harm her in one way or another. So is it truly like? Does he go with the lesser evil then? Because I feel like
that's the question. It's a discussion. Like
remember that was one of the short stories. Remember the lesser evil one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had an answer to
There's
that.
Okay, but
No,
let's
I
keep
mean,
going because
I do think that's what the book is kind of trying to discuss is the neutrality and the way that, even last book he talked about how the Nilfgaardians are just different. Like they're just killing people and invading
Yeah.
in a way that's a sea change, as they say.
Yeah, before we fully move on, I want to say that at this point, Ciri is in Aretuza right now, and Geralt keeps thinking about how she left her doll behind. And he's like, oh, she's not going to be able to sleep without her doll. He keeps like looking at it on the shelf and being like, I'm worried about Ciri. Yeah.
I don't think she's in Aretuza yet, just minor.
Oh, you're probably
she's
right.
at the farm place with Dandelion, but he is thinking about that, and he even questions Yennefer at one point. Did you also leave a doll behind? Is that what she's going to experience?
And then she says, shut up, let's make love again.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much. I will say I would have liked a little bit more of interaction between Ciri and Geralt because they haven't seen each other for like a full book and a half.
And Ciri feels the type of way about it too. She's feeling deeply abandoned by both Yennefer and Geralt at this point.
Understandably.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so what ends up happening is that I was going to be very vague about what happens next. So if you want to, Val, you can do it. So I was just going to be like, there's a fight, and then, and that's not.
Could we suffice
maybe
to
need
say,
a little bit more detail
First,
than that.
yeah, I can run us through it real fast if you have something to say quick.
Oh, yeah, sure. I was just going to, if you're going to do that, go for it. I was just going to say, could it suffice to say that? And then I was going to put A, B, C, and D. But if you would like to just give us a quick run through, go for it.
Yeah, just run us through it.
And as you're doing that, I'm just going to remove myself for a second. I'll be right back, but continue. This is not for me disrespecting you, by the way. I just need another glass of water.
I do want to say, before I'm sorry,
Bye, Katie.
I do want to mention this. We do have a quick flashback to Codringer and Fen right now because Ciri is having a little like a vision, and she's in the eyes of a cat in Codringer and Fen's office, who are the lawyers from before, and they're having a conversation. Codringer, like they've found something, and they're realizing, oh my god, Ciri is way more important than we thought she was. They're like, oh my god, Geralt is under Yennefer's foot, whether he knows it or not. We need Ciri for ourselves. Like you can these are kind people that we saw before, but they like the wheels are turning.
Everybody's working their own angle.
Everyone's working their own angle, and like these people are like, yeah, actually, like Geralt's under Yennefer's boot. We can't trust him. We need to get in this race for ourselves, like to like better our situation. And like we get like a little snippet from Ciri because someone knocks on the door, and Ciri's like, don't open it. Death is on the other side of that door. And lo and behold, like I believe Ryance and the boys knock down the door and just like completely like burn down all of the schools, all the library. Codringer dead. Fen fights back. Fen with no legs, like this little scholar guy, and it's really tragic because like he's like sobbing and like because he's looking at his scrolls burning, and it's just his whole livelihood, and it's so important to him. And it's a tragic scene to watch, even knowing that these people just betrayed Ciri, and Ciri is watching it happen, not really understanding it because it's like in a weird like vision thing. But it's great. It's so well handled, and like
it's one of those scenes that really hits. Like it's like a. He has a way of, again, crafting these scenes that are not a lot of dramatic weight is placed upon by the narrative, but still has a lot of dramatic weight in that. Like you feel kind of the tragedy of these two characters in that moment, and you only really met them for like one interaction, but they felt very real, and this feels very sort of sad and kind of. He'll do that again with a bunch of smaller characters later who show up for like a chapter or two. It's one of the strengths of his writing style.
Yeah. So, Codringer and Fen are dead by Vilgefortz. Geralt wakes up. Yennefer is not in bed next to him. He hears a fight outside. He goes outside. Everything in the Conclave has gone to full shit. Shit is like wild. Like people are fighting. They're like women who are used to be in ball gowns or like in like a tight leather, like a gray gear. They're killing each other. Lydia, Vilgefortz is like a girl who is falling around dead on the ground. Like people are crying.
I liked her a lot.
It's quickly put together that like sort of Philippa and Dijkstra are behind this specifically. This is a Redania. Like Redania has done something, and Vilgefortz was going to do something kind of.
We should say one of the reasons that the Conclave was called and kind of one of the machinations of going on is how much do these sorcerers want to have influence over the kings of the land, and like should they kind of work with them or work against, like that kind of power balance
And-
is kind of one of the key ideological differences.
And even during the party, when everyone was like, "Oh, it's just frivolous. We're all dressed so pretty," it's like everyone's a spy. This one girl's not a spy; she's an infomaniac, but everyone else is a spy. Like like it's
Yeah.
but like it's funny, but like everyone is a spy pretty much. Like, so like shit's going down. Geralt's like going in there. He's like, "What the fuck's going on?" Triss runs over and he's like, "You weren't supposed to be here." Triss blinds Geralt, and like, he's like, she's like, I'm sorry," blinds him, and he's like sort of seeing the scene through his ears, if you will. And like, Tisaya walks in and she's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, essentially, I believe what happens is that
For what I Googled, because I
Yeah.
was so confused because I can't remember any of these people's names. And they're all hot sorceresses. But basically, like, the main witch lady is, like, kind of clearing out some Nilfgaardian, sympathizers. And they're not happy about it, and they're kind of fighting back.
Yeah, Philippa Eilhart and Dijkstra are working for Redania. They knew what Vilgefortz was planning. Vilgefortz, who, as we have discussed, is very bitter about sorcerers in general, has been working with Nilfgaard to sell out the sorcerers. And he got, we didn't mention her, but Francesca Findabar, the hottest elf alive, he got her and was like, "Hey, if you join our side, you'll basically be queen of all of the elves."
And the elves will get their homeland back.
So there's a whole a schism between the sorcerers right now. Like there's like Redania, and there's like the sorcerers who have absconded to Nilfgaard, and Geralt gets like scooped up by Dijkstra and exited from the premises essentially, and Geralt ends up fighting back, escapes because he's Geralt. He's very cool.
He kills a bunch of people.
He
And
kills
there's
a
this
bunch of
really
people.
cool moment where he meets Vilgefortz, like because he's helping Ciri escape, and he like stands to defend Ciri, and Vilgefortz comes up, and it's like a very like it's like a duel in like a samurai movie.
It's
like
definitely
cinematic.
the boss battle. Boss
Yeah.
battle, but it's a third boss. It's not the minor or medium boss. It's the major boss. He even has a
but it's
legendary
like-
weapon.
Yeah, but it's like it's set up like it's going to be a duel for the ages,
Yes.
right? And Vilgefortz brings his staff to hand, which Val thought was very phallic, but it isn't, guys.
I gotta read
And-
the line because like
It is pretty
No,
phallic.
you don't.
it's a little phallic.
And what's really funny is like, and again, this is kind of the subversive nature of it, is like, literally they're about to fight, and then the narration goes, later, Geralt will think about how he didn't make any mistakes during this fight. His one mistake was beginning the fight, because he just gets curb stomped by Vilgefortz. And I love that. I think that's great. I think it's
love
really
it.
nice that like this is one of the ways that Geralt is not a wish fulfillment character, is he just gets, for all of his like fighting ability, he should not have picked this fight, and he did not do well.
I will briefly summarize up to this point. Like, Geralt fights his way through a whole bunch of shit. He talks to a bunch of sorcerers who he talked to along the way, and he's like, "What the fuck's going on?" They tell him. They give him like details. This is what happened. This is what happens. This is what happened. Geralt eventually, yes, finds himself here, where Vilgefortz swoops down, and the sorcerer took a step back. Geralt tensed up, ready to jump and strike. Vilgefortz did not raise his hand, however, but simply held it out on one side. A stout 2-yard staff suddenly materialized in his hand. "I know," he said, "what hinders you from making a sensible assessment of the situation. I know it complicates and obfuscates your attempts at making a correct prediction of the future. Your arrogance, Geralt. I will disabuse you of your arrogance, and I will do so with the help of this magic staff here." The Witcher squinted and raised his blade a little. "I'm trembling with impatience."
Which
Like,
is a
come
very,
on,
that's a
come
very
on.
straight thing to say. I don't know what you guys are talking about. It,
And then
okay.
the next line is a few weeks later, having
Yeah.
been healed by the Dryads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's really unfortunate, I don't know if you guys had already mentioned, but what's really unfortunate is the betrayal that kind of happens from, and I say betrayal lightly because I don't know that it's really that big of a betrayal, but it is at the same time logistically awful, is that, Yennefer uses Ciri for,
Yeah,
you
we do
mentioned that.
need-
Perfect.
So we haven't mentioned it yet. So.
Anyway, just long story short, Yennefer summons Siri. Siri, as a prophetess, gives the truth, speak, and everybody's like, "Nah, I don't like your bitch talk, little girl. None of that's gonna happen." And they're like, "No, she's a prophetess. It is." And unfortunately, it comes to very little. It's because it didn't really matter in the end, because it all broke apart and everybody got slaughtered
Yennefer
regardless.
thought she was going to be, because she is a member of the council. She thought she was going to be able to like show them serious power and be like, we need to protect this girl, because she
Mm-hmm.
trusted her fellow sorcerers, and she was wrong. She brought her there, and she was wrong. All the other sorcerers were like, what is this party trick? This is stupid. And Yennefer, like we have a little scene with Yennefer and Ciri where she's like, I'm so sorry, ugly duckling. I messed up. And you need to run. Like, and it's really sad. And then Ciri runs off. She's like, I love you, daughter. I'm so sorry. And it's really, it is quite
It is
touching.
really good.
Like, even though she did actively fuck up, she lied to Geralt. Like, this was not a good idea.
She had plans. I
She
forgive
had
her.
Plans.
Yes. But what is nice about this though is it's very balanced. It's because Ciri starts from, like, let's say the top of the tower, right? Just like thematically, I mean, or like like in your brain as far as where how she has to escape and get away. And so Yennefer is her first leg down in attempting to escape. Then she runs into Geralt, and Geralt assists her by giving her a weapon. And so then she runs from there. And we get a couple other things that are pretty nice, which is, for example, an end to Ciri's, not an end fully, but a semi closure piece to Ciri's trauma. It's because she defeats a black armored soldier, the soldier
We
of Sintra.
Kahir named everyone for the fans. Kahir has been named. We get a very brief perspective of him where he like sees Ciri, and this is the man who's been he got in trouble for doing a bad job of hunting Ciri last time. He's been sent out and gotten another chance, and he's like, oh boy, there's Ciri again. Gotta get her. And then Ciri just full on kicks his ass.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and like
understatement.
she's like in a raw rage. She's like, this is the bitch who's been haunting my dreams all of this time. And she like yanks his like a helmet off, and she sees him like she's like dark hair,
It's just a face.
stupefying blue eyes, and she's like, oh, this is just a fucking guy. It's just
Yeah.
I don't know him. I never seen
Yeah,
him before.
it's just a man. It's not a monster.
So she throws her sword on the ground, steals his horse, and just yoinks out of there. Like,
Yeah, it's a good moment.
Yeah.
and
And then,
then
of course,
later, when like a moment later, almost like when Kahir wakes up again, like he sees like a white wraith or something like killing a bunch of people, and he's
I think
like,
he
"What's
compares
going
him
on?"
to a leopard of some
Yeah,
sort.
yeah.
And he's like, whereas before she was like a banshee and like a monster, this is like a lithe, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then you get a cool badass like Geralt kill
Like
scene.
Geralt's like, you're the one who traumatized my Ciri. Like, I'm going to kill you. Give me one reason why I shouldn't kill you. And he's like, I'm the one who got her out of Sintra. She's alive because of me.
All right, cool.
And then he
Good
like
luck.
passes out, and he wakes up, and Geralt has kept him alive.
Yes.
Geralt's gone.
The next so this big thing all goes down. Ciri jumps in a portal that just kind of takes her somewhere. But we then cut to Dandelion. And Dandelion's
This is
on the
great.
road, and he's trying to find Geralt, and they're going to see the Brokilon, or Brokilon, as he says in the book, which is where the Dryads live, and Dryads are now killing humans on sight. So the guards that are taking him are like, dude, you should not go in there. And he's like, I'm gonna do it. And so he has this thing where he goes there, and
It's
he's
really- no, it's
no,
really
the
funny.
scene is good.
It's
It is
really-
good.
I'm sorry, because
Yeah.
he's just like, I'm not afraid. I know all of this stuff, and the people, the drivers are like, wow, you're so brave. These people shoot people on sight, and Dandelion's like, yeah, I really know what I'm doing. And then like,
He's
he's
just
like,
like,
yeah, you can drop me
courage.
off here. Yeah, courage.
No,
Sing
and he
about
tips
me.
them. He
Yeah,
gives
yeah,
them. He's
he
like,
does.
here, have a
And then,
beer
like,
for me, boys.
and then he walks off, and then like the minute he like looks over his shoulder, he's
He's
like,
like,
all right, I'm out. And then he just like pulls through. He's like, oh god, this is so scary. It's so funny.
so
And
funny.
I really like this scene because I really like the slowdown scenes in these books where you get the environmental descriptions because it's really pretty. It's a dried up river that has like I think there's a description where it says that the sky was glittering with the movement of insects or something like that. And I just really love, you can hear the cicadas, like you can, it's like like a summer afternoon on this dry river bed that still has some water. And as he's going, I love the description so much because even his horse has character, which we never get this horse again, I'm sure.
Pegasus.
But
Pegasus's horse. I love that his name is Pegasus.
Yes, it's very, musical and very like,
Poetic.
grand. But as he's going, he notices that the river is like full of weeds and stuff. So you get this really pretty description of them going, and this horse is like got such attitude that he doesn't want to go any further for a moment because he has to take a shit, and so he just poops in the water, and that's what Dandelion's thinking to himself. He's just like, this is gonna be me. I'm going to be nothing but a corpse, and I'm gonna go down the river with this horse shit, and that's gonna be me. That's gonna be my
He's
story.
doing it
because
for
I'm
his
gonna
best
be here.
friend, and it's so sweet.
I know.
I really like this because it kind of, it's a kind of, this scene has like a heroism to it that is not martial in nature. He's so scared of these dryads maybe killing him, but he's still going to do this thing because he wants to meet his friend. Like he needs to see where Geralt is and take care of him.
I love Dandelion as a character. He's such a good friend. He's such a sweetheart. Even if he just likes writing his little songs, like he's such a loyal friend, and like, it's illustrated to us over and over again.
And basically, he goes to see the dryads. Take him to see Geralt. Did we already say he did his singing thing?
He sung a little elf song while he was going through there. And they were like, "Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice." Yeah. So they let him in, and Geralt's
and
like,
he was
"You got
so
very
afraid,
lucky." Like, yeah, and he did get very lucky, but.
And then you get basically a very depressing montage of news updates of what's going around in the world. And because you've been given these short stories, because you've been given these historical pieces, because you've seen these small characters, and all of them are so well fleshed out, when you hear the fact that basically, what's the other country called again?
Nilfgaard?
Nilfgaard. I was going to say Niflheim. Shame. When you learn that Nilfgaard has come through, you get a small section where everybody is to be slaughtered. That, and including in Vengerberg. We even get a little aside that Vengerberg has been demolished. They've tried to fight back. So that means all the people that Geralt learned in that year with Yennefer, all the little relationships he built, all the nice connections that have been weaved throughout all these stories have been burnt and murdered, and there is nothing left. And so that's why when at the beginning of our discussion, I mentioned not everything, obviously, we don't know to what extent for everybody, but that's why I said at the beginning, this is like such a hard pivot in this book because everything he's built up to this point, a lot of it has been destroyed or lost. So from this point on, I'm really nervous about what's going to happen and whether it's going to be built back up in an even better way or whether it's going to pivot so completely that it's not even the same structure anymore. And if that's the case, that's really interesting, but it's also really sad because it's the death of something previous then.
I'm here for it. I love military fiction.
Baptism of Fire is the next book, and that's the one that everyone fucking loves. Baptism of Fire. It's so good. I feel like Will's gonna have it. Will, you love military fiction?
God,
I feel like you probably really liked this sequence of events. So if you
what happens basically is that in flashback, Dandelion is telling Geralt about like the fall and how Nilfgaard won like some of the wars and stuff, and it's told in this way where he's telling it to Geralt, but the narration is actually cutting to other people's points of views when he's telling this story. And there's a bunch of little. Okay, so here's the thing. There's a bunch of little moments that he describes that are great and powerful and dramatic, and I liked them. Like there's this discussion of these soldiers who just decided to hold the line to help these other people escape, and it really hits you. And there's another description of a sorceress who like kills herself, and you're like, oh, this really has impact.
That was Tissaia de Vries. That was the old woman who was with Margareta.
Like OCD. It's really...
it's, sorry to interrupt, it was a really tragic moment, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was a really cool scene, though. It's because it's really lovely, the methodical nature, where it says, and then she took off her bangles, and she's organizing them, and as soon as you know she's taken off her jewelry, you're like, okay.
So,
and I'm sorry to interrupt, Will, and I just want to say this real fast.
Yeah.
Because Tissaia... What happened was she was the one who let down the barriers of magic during the conclave because she's really old. She was like, I hate seeing sorcerers fight like this. And she lowered the barriers, and a lot of what happened was her fault. So she kills herself in this moment. And
this kind of plays into what I was saying. Lots of beautiful moments, but overall, I found it somewhat incomprehensible. So, like, even that, I did not remember that was the same sorceress with the comb and stuff. And, like, it says in the narration there that she let them down to let the people in. But, like, I didn't quite get the full impact of it because I just could not remember people's names and who was who. So, and I think Chris mentions this in her review as well. I like how we're referring her back to her like she's an authority. But it's hard to remember where everything is. So there's these kings making these decisions that are very like realpolitik, and you can tell are going to have a big impact on the common people we've bonded with. But I'm like, I don't quite know where you are into relation with this other person, and like that kind of saps it, I think, a little bit of. But I still really enjoyed it because I love military history.
There were
but
like
as a
a
whole,
couple of them that I recognized, and I will say the one with Philavandrel, who you will maybe remember from The Last Wish. He was in the Devil story. He was the elf at the end of the Devil, the Diovel kind of story. He showed up, and he is the sort of advisor to Francesca Findabar, who is working under Nilfgaard, now ruling the elves. So, like, there's a lot of callbacks. Like,
I did not catch that.
You really need to, like, and some of like these ones, I'm like, do I know your name?
Yeah.
Should I know you?
You know what's so funny is usually I believe in a very specific like one of the close read videos that streams that Will and I did before. I specifically mentioned a really long time ago that one of the biggest reasons why I never read Wheel of Time was because the first several pages there were a million names, and I felt really overwhelmed by how much naming was being going on because it was very hard to like place and then connect with. But ironically, I
this
don't
book
know
gets away with it.
Well, I wouldn't say I could tell you who the name is, but I know the character placement. Like, I have an image in my head. So when you said Philavandrel, for example, I'm like, oh yeah, really saucy elf dude that tuts Francesca, but it's like, but I'm still your bro. So
what I would argue is that you don't necessarily you don't need to know the names or the country names for the chapters and what's happening to be impactful.
Yeah.
The author is skilled enough to show you, oh, this is just a really slow takeover that was well machinated.
Well, and it's tragic too because of the ways that they didn't stop it for various interscene politics and stuff like that. No, and I will say again, I found I really liked this part. I just found it a little incomprehensible. And so I could see how other people would have more problems with it.
I tried to reread it, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna have to accept the fact that I don't know all these names and I don't know all these people. But
I will say I did want to pause here to talk about the elf stuff because unfortunately we're running a little over time, but just very quickly, last time we had talked about how it's really hard for us not to read the elves as a Native American allegory of like colonizers coming over and taking over from the native people. And a lot of people in the comments even were like, as a European, I don't think that's really what's going on. And we got one interesting comment on it that was regarding the Polish, and I can't see who this is from because the live is in front of it, but regarding the Polish and broader Eastern European perspective on the issues raised in the books. One of the largest and most brutal racial persecutions in history involved white people being persecuted by other white people. During World War II, almost every Polish family lost someone close, experienced physical violence, or suffered rape, not only at the hands of the Germans, but also from the Soviet army that liberated the country. The most smaller nations of Central and Eastern Europe fought for their freedom for many years. For example, Poland was occupied by Russia, Germany, and Austria for over 130 years, with several bloody uprisings that were just as brutally suppressed. Many other nations experienced similar histories. From this perspective, the history of the world is not a history of the supremacy of one race over another, but rather a history of the supremacy of the strong and cruel over the smaller and weaker. This is why in the books alongside the Squatao, people of different ethnic or national backgrounds are also persecuted and murdered. In this context, in the massacres of Sintra, ethnic cleansing, conquered land, etc. In this context, context of the Goa'uld are a brilliant example of a persecuted group, in this case racial, that allies itself with the stronger power Nilfgaard, which seeks to conquer and enslave the weaker, the northern kingdoms, in the naive belief that Nilfgaard will keep its promise and liberate the Goa'uld. This is a situation known from European history, where one group, national or ethnic, supported a stronger power in persecuting a weaker one, hoping to improve its own fate. A hopeless, tragic situation that led to unimaginable cruelty. Neighbor killing neighbor, one village massacring another, and lasting hatred. A situation that often defines simple moral judgment.
Which is
And
a really wonderful reason to name this Age of Contempt.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really good, again, sometimes I think literature and our understanding of it is a little too American focused, and Americans are very much kind of a colonial understanding of the world, and that like there were people and then another person came. But in Europe, you have all these groups churning constantly in smaller ethnicities, and this is written from the perspective of someone who lived during the Soviet Union and right after World War II when these atrocities did happen. And that plays into the Elf Queen little snippet that we get in this with Dandelion, where she's talking with that other elf guy, and he's like, we're not going to get all our homes back for helping the Nilfgaardians, and also we need to call the Goa'uld back because they're increasingly dying. And she's like, well, them's the breaks. Like, there's a sense that, like, yeah, the Nilfgaardians gave them some stuff, but they're not going to get as much as they want from this. And there is a sense of, like, they're making a pact with a greater devil.
And there's also a slight insinuation, in my opinion, that Francesca is very selfishly going towards this goal for her own, I guess you could say, pride or self-fulfillment. Whether or not that is narcissistic in nature, or whether it's more of her own her own sense of justice that's going on. But the point being is, it also it's so multifaceted. It's very nice. It's because it feels real. There are personal motivations, and then there are political motivations. So, and you get both in this scene.
Yeah, that was a really, really good comment. I'm glad you read that, because it's so easy for us to just read it specifically from an American point of view.
It's so hard not to.
And I love all of the comments we get from like Polish people or just anyone who is smarter at history than me or Witcher fans. It's so fun reading them. I love it. It's fantastic.
All the more reason why. That's another reason why getting a master's, I think, or just pursuing any type of personal self-study from what you would usually pursue in a master's or a doctorate would be able to give you. It multi-perspective. It's because at least I guess it depends who your professor is or what your program is, but that's always been my understanding, especially with Maria's background and everything, is being able to view at a literary event, or being able to review humanity through different lenses in order to better understand its portrayal in literature.
Yeah, I think so. And I just really liked it. We don't have a ton of time, so
let's
did you want to say more, Val, about that before we move on?
No. I'll say essentially what happens is that Geralt and Dandelion leave Brooklyn Forest together. Geralt's a little bitchy about it at first. He's like, why won't you tell me about this? But he's like, you're my bestie. They leave the forest together.
Geralt is also like, you can't come with me. You're going to die. I'm going to a very dangerous place for Ciri.
Dandelion's like, fuck you, I'm coming with you, man.
And Geralt's
like, hey.
And on a side note, it is told to us that Geralt has been, he will not be the same ever again. He can't walk properly. He no longer has his sword, which I'm sure, that's not the worst, but that's pretty awful because that's iconic for him anyway.
He gets it back by the time of the games.
And the point is, though, is that he will never recover from this defeat in a certain way, because it's not just physical, which it is majorly physical. He has been damaged, but also because he also won't have full control over his one arm, I think is stated. So he's been massively physically damaged, but it's also a huge personal failure. Yeah,
and he's very much like, I can't let this happen to Ciri. I need to save Ciri in this moment, and like that drive is where we end with Geralt in this. I'll do this very briefly. We cut to Emir var Emreis, a scene with him and his lackeys in his kingdom. Emir is the king of Nilfgaard. he's where's the girl? Bring me bring me Siri. And all the guys are like,
It's
why does he
written like-
want her so bad? Like, oh, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know what he wants to do with her. It's kind of strange.
It's written a little bit more realpolitik than that, but it is very bring me the girl. That's
Yeah.
kind of basically what's going on.
Yeah, and like he's like kind of sitting on his throne, and a girl stumbles in, a blonde girl with green eyes stumbles in, and she's like very nervous. They're like, oh, she's as ugly as they say they are. Like, you know, everyone in the background.
Super racist comments about Northern Kingdoms.
he's and there's I want to get through this fast because there's other stuff to get over, but essentially like there's conversation about like, is this really what he wants? And Emir is like, do you have I want proof that this is actually serious, essentially. Like, I want a bit of hair. I want tests to be done. And the guy's like, I can get urine or feces. And he's like, hair is enough. And like, do you know her star sign? And he's like, yes, I know her star sign. So these are all like little tidbits that we get before we get to the next scene, which is Ciri's dying in the desert, guys.
And this is like a third of the book.
It is.
It's a
rough.
lot.
It's very rough.
It's rough to read.
Because the problem is, we've reached the high point, like emotionally up until this point, and then she's in the desert, literally like 3 hours. I was listening to her be in the desert,
dying in the desert of thirst.
And it's not bad. It's well written, but it does not feel a part of this book. And like, I was like, I don't think this is going to lead. This is the weird way the book is sort of episodic at times. And the problem is also the book kind of like the arcs are all sort of incomplete. Ciri in this arc will not complete to a point where of anything she learned earlier. We literally have Geralt and Dandelion just going off for the next adventure. Yennefer's in the wind. Like it in terms of character arcs, it's very unsatisfying.
Yeah, I can zoop us through the forest, or not the opposite of the forest, the desert.
I can do it.
And if you guys want to, like, so
I can do it faster.
Ciri's starving in the desert. She finds a unicorn finds her while she's starving. You guys, oh my gosh, there's a unicorn there. She needs him. Little horse. They fight a big creature, and oh my god, little horse.
She has to heal him.
Has been injured, and she has to heal him, you guys, because she loves Little Horse the Unicorn. And she's like, there's no magic. I can use magic. Yennefer said not to use fire magic, but but there's fire, and I've got kindling, so she uses fire magic, and she goes crazy, and she hears this voice in her head. She's like, oh my god, there's all this power. Oh my god, I can use all this power. You should use all this power. You should kill everything.
It's a little sexual.
Like, I don't want to use all this power. I just want to heal my unicorn friend. Yes. And she's like, ha ha ha, use all your power. And Ciri's like, I don't remember exactly what she says. She's like, I reject this, essentially.
No, she specifically says, I don't want this kind of power twice. Mm-hmm. And does that and so when she wakes up, she's empty and void, and it's actually really cool. It sounds
like
a
very brief
journey.
Cut to the perspective of other unicorns who are like, we should kill this girl. Confirm.
Yeah, I know.
No, she saved our guy. But she
they have like a very magic. Like
confirm. And they're like, but
neutralize.
I guess she's kind of nice. Should we leave her alive? Confirm? Like
the being.
Yeah, it was weirdly
the being
like
is on the ground.
Yeah, the being. I was like, is this somebody radio? Like it feels like that. It's very interesting. I wonder if in translation that got like turned into of a more modern feeling.
Interesting.
I thought there was going to be some kind of like a twist. Like, is there some other kind of world going on here? But no.
But essentially, the unicorns decide that because Ciri rejected the magic and saved the unicorn, Little Horse, they were going to let her go on her way. But she's fucked up on the ground. She gets scooped up by some Nilfgaardians, and she sees like a hat with some feathers, and she's like, I don't even care. I just want water.
I have a question. So when she rejects the fire power, does that mean she can no longer wield magic?
She can't use magic anymore.
Yeah. Is that like a thing for all sorceresses? Or is that just a
Well,
thing
I'm assuming she's
going
to get better at some point.
I
think it probably temporarily burned her out, but I don't think she's never going to be able to use it again.
I would say that came up someplace before.
I don't think it has.
At this point, we don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, at this point, we don't know. Basically, she gets captured by some Nilfgaardians. The Nilfgaardians get into a really dumb fight with some other Nilfgaardians, and they end up dying, so just like the poor ones are left. They take her to a town.
By Robin Hood.
Yeah, they get to a town. The town, there's also some other bounty hunters there who have like an half-elf guy who was like a brigand, and they're like, ha-ha, that sucks.
For the rats.
Brother Rats. She helps out him a little bit, and then when his buddies come in and kill everybody and escape, she escapes with them. Except this is not a great gang. This is a gang that's pretty brutal. Yeah. She stays with them, and
she kills a guy for the first time. She's on the horses on the way out, and she's like, "Oh fuck, I've never killed a guy for the first time." And like all these people are like, "You ride a horse funny, you fight funny. Are you a circus person?" Like, so they think she's from a circus, essentially. And they're like, okay, you're one of the gang. And then they all lie down for bed. And the guy that was, that she got rescued with, like...
this grossest scene ever.
And it's a really rough scene, trigger warning for everyone.
One thing I will say is the way it's written is actually very... It's more nuanced than you usually get from these scenes, because like the way he phrases is it like, I'll give you something for saving me, and it's written in this way that like her body is kind of responding to it even as she does not like what's going on.
But she freezes up.
Real quick, I thought this was fascinating. So anyway, when the guy comes and he goes obviously to handle her, she's shaking, she's crying, she feels. It specifically says she feels a wrench of disgust. So it feels very like a intrusion. But then one of the girls of the group says, fuck off, like leave her be. And I'm thinking, this is like a rescue girl.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But no, instead she lays down beside Siri and continues where he left off. And then you get this weird, like Will said, nuanced scene where it's this strange thing where it then becomes more like an acceptance of a transition into womanhood, like, which is kind of strange because it doesn't feel welcome per se, but at the same time it specifically says series suddenly the disgust, like it didn't say suddenly, it said then the disgust faded, and it was like it's almost I thought it was odd when it happened.
The way I interpreted it is there's a sense of resignation that like, this is gonna happen. And this is happening now, and it's my body's responding in a certain way, and even though I am kind of distant from it.
There was something, maybe I'd like a close read of it because it would be interesting actually to look at why I think this, and maybe I'm incorrect, but there's a certain wording, because I had to re-listen to it twice because my students were bothering me, and what a scene to bother me during. But I had to rewind and listen to it again, and I had to slow it down because dismissal was going through. And I just remember thinking to myself, this isn't like black or white in this moment. This is a very convoluted moment. And in the morning when she covers her and kisses her on the forehead, it feels like she's saying thank you for a certain thing. And whether or not that's a convoluted... Yeah, go ahead, Val.
Well, I would say that it was rape no matter what.
No matter what.
It absolutely
1,000,000%.
Yes, from Missile 100%. Even though she was saved from like one guy doing a shitty thing that might have been more traumatic to someone based on like gender roles or whatever, it doesn't matter. What Missile did was still disgusting.
Oh no, it was,
but like Siri processed it differently, clearly, and like there was a certain gratefulness that Siri has to Missile that is going to continue. And Missile is like an interesting character. She's not a good person, but like Siri obviously was grateful to her in that moment, which is often there's a complicated thing.
I would say that the book is aware that there is a
grooming
it is not morally being like that was cool.
It's like so good for Missile, right? No,
it's very much like Siri is having a complicated reaction
to the water, and she washes herself off after having killed a person, after being like assaulted by like two people, and like sobbing like Siri is not doing hot. And like this is almost where the book ends. It's like where after that we just get a quick scene.
We get like an info dump actually about who they are.
Some spies from Nilfgaard who are essentially just like, there's one guy who is like, actually, the king Emir wants Ciri alive. Actually, I decided I don't think Nilfgaard should be this kind of state. I want her dead. So now people want Ciri alive and dead.
Bum.
And you're like, that was a weird place to end this book.
Yes, like there was a lot of trauma at the very end. Like we kind of zooped through it, but it's hard to read the last like third.
And it also just feels out of place. I mean, like this is the first instance of this pretty much in the books since like the hilarious topless scene with Yennefer back in the second anthology book. Like, this is not, and this feels, it's written in such an intimate manner that it is, again, I think he's handling this material responsibly, but like, it is so much more written.
It's complicated.
It's out. Well, but again, it's just like none of this has happened in this kind of a book to this point. You haven't had this kind of a horrible thing happen so close to a character.
Yeah.
That it feels kind of weird that we zoomed in so far all of a sudden.
What I was like, what Chris and I were kind of talking about last night was that, like, it seemed like he was trying to speed run a Ciri coming to her womanhood and being traumatized with the unicorn thing that was happening, and he's still a very good writer and he's a very competent writer, and I think what happens afterwards works to a certain degree, but I don't think it's not as earned as it could be if he'd spent a little more time on Ciri as like a kid and slowly being like introduced to these things, kind of. It just felt like the unicorn was a speed run of like, oh, now you're traumatized, now you get to be a traumatized, and now it's just going to keep happening.
No, it's just, I don't know. I also just kind of wasn't sure. It also kind of feels a little out of left field because it's like, but why? Like, why did you choose to have this happen to Ciri? Like, it's odd. It's like if like, I don't know, suddenly Geralt fell in a hole. You're like,
that's
okay,
what I mean.
Why? What purpose does this serve in the narrative? And I don't know. That's
what I meant by a pivot in the storyline and in the structure of the expectation of what's happening. And that's why I said what happens next. You say people love it, so I'm like, okay, thank God. I think I'll get what I want. But when it says a hard, I'm worried because if it goes to that hard pivot where it completely starts really focusing on Ciri in that way, or there's like a divergence in like the plot to two separate plots then, where the one's just a chase and the other one's coming of age, I will be admittedly somewhat irritated by it because it's a ball buster. Like, that's not what I really want. It doesn't feel satisfying.
I'm very curious to see what you think about the rest of the books. I do have my issues with them, and I have like I love Ciri. Like, I don't think people will say that it's indulgent the way that he tortures Ciri in the plot, and I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all.
Okay.
I think it's real. It's realistic, and maybe I'll change my mind as I continue to read it. But
we'll reread it.
Yeah, as I continue to reread it. Yeah, but like, I never. Ciri is an interesting character. I don't fully understand. He's so deft with Geralt and Yennefer, and
it makes
in
sense
so many ways, and
he
is deft with Ciri in a lot of ways too. But
it makes sense in a way though too. When it comes to Geralt and Yennefer's trauma, we never delve into it like this, and so there's a certain distance to it. And as you said earlier, they're both old, so that's in the past, whereas this is fresh. And maybe what he wants to specifically explore here is, how does one become a Yennefer? How does one become a Geralt? And this is Ciri becoming a Yennefer and a Geralt, and what the trials and tribulations of that are required to harden and make someone make those kinds of mistakes in order to become, hopefully in her case, a more balanced person. But I won't get my hopes up.
Geralt does keep talking about how he wants to spare her what he is. Eden Yell actually has an interesting point. Earlier in the book, Ciri had a talk with Yen about how she thought she needed to lose her virginity in order to be a magician, and I think this was an attempt to take that decision away from her. To me, honestly, I don't love this plot twist, like what we've all been talking about, but like, if he has a good point with it, at least that will be something. I won't feel that it was irresponsible. And that's really just something later books can answer. Says because there was also a thing about unicorns are attracted to maidens, and that might have been saved her in the desert with Little Horse. I will say there's an absolutely, like, the best encapsulation in this book is there's a funny part right before we get to the unicorn where there's an out of textbook talking about how unicorns are attracted to virgins, so a bunch of women would not have sex until later in life so that they could be a lure for hunters. But then the unicorns are like, that's weird, actually. It's kind of weird you're that old and haven't gotten laid yet, so it stopped. And that's just the perfect example of subversion of fantasy with economics that these books have. And it's funny.
The little epistolary things between chapters in these books are so good. They're so good. Like,
So overall, I mean, I really enjoyed this book. I really liked it. First half is stronger than the second. I really want to start on the next one, especially if it's supposed to
I
be good.
cannot wait for you guys to read Baptism of Fire. Some of my favorite characters are introduced. It's gonna. I can't wait. I can't wait.
You know, after we get through all of the short stories and novels and video games, we'll have to do a whole live stream that's just tier lists. So tier list of the books, tier list of sorcerers, tier list of characters. You know, we'll
But
just
yeah,
indulgent.
that would be delightful. And also, I think it would be a really good menu tasting for people who want to know what to go into. Yeah, no, I agree. This book was great. Again, strange pivot. I don't really care. I loved every moment.
I'm so grateful for you guys for reading these. Eden, thanks for being here in the
Yeah.
comments. It's been great. And,
Shout out to Chris when she watches this.
And shout out Chris. I should read. I want to read a tiny bit of Chris's. If you guys don't mind.
Yeah, no, that's
Sure.
Final thoughts, because they were really good. Do do do.
But yeah, join the Patreon if you'd like access to these live streams. Really, these do not do well unless I have Val face palming with the Netflix logo in the background, which I have tried. So it really does help support it, and it helps us know that, you know, if one of you signed up for our book club because of this book and this video, it will have made more money for us than the YouTube ad money from it. So
I'll read a couple snippets. It's where Ciri begins her adult journey and where the war starts. However, as per usual, Sapkowski doesn't present any of it in a traditional narrative. He uses inserts of POVs from characters who don't immediately, importantly, give the reader a wide context that they couldn't possibly access to the three main characters. Events like Applegate's death, which seem rather meaningless, end up being recontextualized by the end of the book. He failed to deliver the last message to Demoven, and the king of Adrian wasn't aware of the Nilfgaard forces amassing near Dol Angra, so Adrian's army fell into a trap that led to the downfall of the entire region. Had he not died, the war might not have started, and had he not started, the disadvantage to the northern forces. Either way, I think it's a good representation of how a minor incident can have major repercussions, and I think it's a smart way of writing politics. On the character side of things, there are a lot of moving moments in this second book. Some scenes live rent-free in my memory since I first read them, like scenes that make me bawl my eyes out. Stuff like the reunion at the edge of the forest, Ciri pretending to faint so that she wouldn't have to choose between Geralt and Yen, Geralt thinking of lovely scenery to make Yen happy, or Ciri trying to wash off both her assault and her first murder, and Geralt and Brokilon saying that he must go after Ciri so that what happened to him will never happen to her. These were gut-punching moments, for better or for worse. Like, Chris is great. Always has good things to say.
honestly, again, if you guys would like to join the Patreon, this is sort of a plug for it. But like, yeah, it's the kind of discussion we get up to. It's really nice. I've made a point of reading hers before we started, because it's not just us five that are really intelligent. It's a couple of people on the Patreon as well. But yeah, any last thoughts, guys? Because it's been a minute.
No. Hey, this I think was shorter than the last one, maybe. But,
Maybe, I don't know. Last one lasted a while. These are just big books to get through too, so because a lot
they're not
happens.
even that
They're dense.
long is the thing. They're just
dense,
like there's a
though.
lot to talk about, and
Yeah.
I love them a lot. They're definitely worth reading, even though this wasn't my favorite. It's still a beautifully written book.
Katie?
Nope, that's it for me. Sorry, I'm just really hungry. I haven't eaten dinner yet. I'm about
Yeah,
to,
we're
so I'm
all
like
kind of
ready.
Yeah,
tired
get
and
some
hungry,
food.
so we'll talk to y'all
no.
later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.